Hello, everyone, and welcome to Millennial Rewind, where we take a not so sentimental look at the movies and TV shows that were around when millennials were growing up. I'm your host, Nick, coming to you from Santa's workshop on the West Coast, Los Angeles, California. This episode, however, I am alone in the City of Angels. Jules will not be joining us. He is currently rapping in Italy. However, I am not alone entirely. Joining me from the teddy bear filled with nails and sawdust of Southern California, the Inland Empire, is my other co host, John. John, what's happening?
Oh, I've just been kind of redecorating, but brushes are expensive, so I'm just painting with my beard.
Okay.
That'll make sense later.
It'll make sense later. Also, you could be painting with your beard right now. Folks, you can't see him right now because you are not on the Zencaster call with us, but John is dressed up as Santa Claus, and he's even gone so far as to paint his beard and eyebrows white. But before we get started with this episode, if you like what you hear today, please do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Also, be sure to share the show with anyone you think might like to listen as well. So this week we watched Fuck This Movie. Fuck this movie. Oh God. I don't even want to say the title, but I have to. It is we watched Santa Claus the movie, the 1885 Christmas film, and I say film in the biggest of fucking quotation marks. And John, how would you tell someone you watched Santa Claus the movie without saying the title?
I'm sick of Christmas already.
Yeah, 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 sounds about right. Sounds about right.
Well, since Jules is gone, did you by chance have maybe an alternate title?
Oh yeah, I mean, I put about as much effort into this as the movie put into, a plot or stakes.
Oh, so you didn't.
Oh, I zero. Like I added a single character to the title. It is now called Santa Claus the movie? Question mark.
God, I mentally called that.
And folks, just so you know, John and I are no longer friends. John suggested this movie. I watched it, and I hate him now. I hate him.
I fought for us to review this, and Nick sent me a text about probably 10 or so minutes in, just complaining. And then it was 3 hours later, he informed me how much he hated me. So, how many breaks did you have to take?
So many. I had several mental breakdowns. I wept. I drank.
Because this movie's only like an hour and a half. It's not much longer than the bare minimum to be a movie.
Okay, this movie is so bad. I would not wish this on my worst enemy. God, it's so bad. So bad.
I have a couple compliments for it. Like a couple.
Oh, okay.
Two.
There's like one or two, but everything else is just like the very atoms that were involved in creating it were disrespected by being involved in this movie. Matter and physics itself lessened by this movie existing. Holy fucking shit, it is so
Well,
bad.
I had a question, but I guess I already have my answer now because in The Indian in the Cupboard, you were talking about how a movie has so little stakes it made you miss Homeward Bound. And I was going to see if you would prefer this or Indian in the Cupboard, but I think I already know the answer to that
Oh, John,
question.
I would watch The Indian in the Cupboard on repeat as a background movie to my life if it meant I never saw this movie again.
Oh my
God, this is the
God.
new low by which I'm judging all the other movies that we watch.
Wow.
Yeah, that
Wow.
is how bad of a time I've had. I've been having some bad times on the show recently. We've been watching some real stinkers, but this really lowered the bar. But we have a formula that we gotta continue with. So, John, why don't you tell us about your experience growing up with this movie?
Oh, I watched the shit out of this as a kid. It didn't even have to be Christmas time we would watch it. We would talk about or even like quote shit when we were at McDonald's. There's a reason for that. We'll get too much later. I started to get bored with it probably around 10 or 11 most likely. And I don't think I ever really saw it since then. We'd put it on, but I wouldn't really sit down to watch it. And so here's something you're not going to fucking believe. The long tracking shots of smiling elves. I remember those being longer and more drawn out than they actually are. They are long and drawn out. I just remember them being that much worse.
They were so boring and pointless, they distorted your perception of time.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, this movie's like an hour and 40-ish minutes. It felt like 9 hours. 9 goddamn
Well,
hours.
I mean, the review I read at the end of the last episode for this one, once you're ready for it to be over, the second act starts.
I mean, I will talk about how, like, the first act starts about, like, over an hour into the movie. We'll get there, but, like, yeah,
The first act
the
starts
first
an
act
hour
starts
into
about an
the
hour into the movie because we watched some shitty, like, origin story movie, and then the movie starts.
The origin story part is my mom's favorite part. She's not too fond of the second half of the movie, but she absolutely loves the first part because it's all about like the joy and wonder of the season. And then the second half is materialism and corporate greed. So as like a piece of art about what Christmas is, it works, but it doesn't work as a film because the story is so shit and there's like as we discussed earlier, there's no stakes until literally the last 10 minutes of the movie.
Literally the last 10 minutes of the movie, but also the first part of the movie has some really horrifying existential implications
Yes.
about what it means to be Santa Claus.
Yes! Okay, I'm glad you picked up on that too, because there's a couple lines in this movie that are really dark, like in the first 10, 15 minutes.
Really dark. And also the movie negates its own premise about how Santa Claus got chosen to be Santa. We'll get into it more when that comes up. But yeah, they didn't need this guy that they anointed Santa. They didn't need him. By their own rules, did not need this guy. I will explain at the appropriate time.
It's never really explained why it's him, but yeah, okay. So, are we ready to jump into this?
Well, just so the folks know my background with the film. Clearly, I had never seen it until somebody who I thought was my friend suggested we watch it for my podcast, and I watched it and resisted every single urge to put myself out of my own misery. And now I hate this person. I still have to make a podcast with him because we agreed to do this together, but I think way, way less of him as a person and just yeah as a creature on this planet, just
And
so,
the fact
so,
that I fought for this so hard,
so hard. I wanted to watch The Santa Claus with Tim Allen.
and I said, "No, everybody always does that. There's nothing left to say. No one knows about this. No one knows about Patch Patch or Puce or the Super Duper Looper, and the world needs to. And that's what we're here to
Oh
do."
my god.
I saw flashbacks in Nick's eyes as I was just listing those 3 things right there.
God, I had Vietnam flashbacks. The strings from Platoon started playing in my head. And I just finished rewatching this for my second time. Like, I had to do my second watch through in chunks to avoid not going literally insane.
Yeah, that was me in Space Jam.
Yeah, this was my Space Jam on crack.
I thought
This
G.I. Joe was your like, we keep hitting new lows.
just
G.I. Joe, Homeward Bound,
wow.
Indian in the Cupboard.
Older movies were really fucking shit, apparently. So much
Oh,
of
no,
the
there were great old movies,
there
just
were great old movies, but a lot of the ones that we thought were really good, because you clearly kept watching this.
oh, there were a number of movies I watched as a kid that are absolute shit that I loved. Superman 4.
Oh,
Big fan.
god. Okay.
Formerly big fan.
Formerly big
Yeah.
fan. So who was involved? Like, let's give a little bit of the filmmaking side before we get into the breakdown. So this had Dudley Moore
Mhm.
as one of the main elves, Patch.
Patch, yep.
For anybody who knows anything about 80s comedies, he was in Arthur, the movie that was eventually remade by what's his face?
Russell Brand.
Russell Brand. Yeah, this was the movie he made the original. John Lithgow
Mhm.
was in this, and he is the only watchable part of this movie. I will elaborate that later. He plays the evil toy tycoon, and
He
then
just chews up the fucking scenery.
oh, he chews it harder than he chews on that fucking cigar that he's always got.
To interject a bit, I mean, since it's just us, when we have a guest, we ask them who they'd like to recast. I would actually recast Santa, and I'd put Brian Blessed in there because then at least we'd have a large hand, like on both sides. Seeing as how our hero and villain never even meet each other in this
They
movie.
never meet, and I will elaborate on why this is even crazier for the plot and like character motivations, which are inconsistent and come out of nowhere, and then they leave. Like I don't wanna, like, downplay bipolar as a disorder because bipolar doesn't work in terms of, like, wild swing manic highs and lows, like, they vary over weeks and months and whatever, but this movie has bipolar if bipolar took cocaine.
Well, they reduce centuries down to mere minutes. I mean, come on.
Right, but, like, character motivations, characters like, moods swing, like, it's crazy, and by the way, Santa Claus in this movie is played by David William Huddleston, who viewers might remember as the Big Lebowski
Mhm.
in The Big Lebowski, not the dude, the other Lebowski.
Yeah, the rich one in the wheelchair.
Yes, who's having sex with Tara Reid.
Mhm.
And other than that, there's not really anybody in here that's that big, like, those are the big
That's
names.
it, really, yeah.
That's it, like, all the child actors in this just never did anything really afterwards, there were probably some, like, British actors who I think, like, popped up in a bunch of, like, random British
Yeah,
shit,
the
but
guy who's puffy has been in a shitload of stuff, like a lot of TV and everything. Anthony O'Donnell, and if you look at his IMDb page, the main photo for him is under very heavy prosthetics, and he's some like weird goblin-looking creature. I don't even know what it was from, but like it's not even his face.
oh, I think I saw that he was in Doctor Who, he was in one of those, like,
Okay.
warrior yeah.
But in this, he just looks like Tom Segura, so that's what I'm gonna wind up calling him when we get there.
And, this is really sad. The cinematographer, his name was Arthur Ibbotson, and he was the cinematographer on the 1971 classic Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory with Gene Wilder,
Oh,
and
no
this was
shit.
his last movie.
Aw.
This was his last movie. It's such a shame,
See,
because
okay,
this is
again,
an
like
enormous.
cinematography-wise, I think it's quite good.
Yeah, I mean, it was shot well. I mean, it definitely felt like it was a '70s
My
movie, like
nice things to say about it are all about the production design, really. I like the sets, I like the costumes, that sort of thing, at least in the first half. But yeah, that's about it. This was written by the same people who wrote Superman the movie.
because it was made by the same people who were involved in that series, like, the
Yeah.
director made, like, Jaws 2, Supergirl, like
There's a credit for second unit and flying director, and he was second unit director on Superman as well. Like, the people who made Superman made this.
crazy. Ah, well,
The
let's
sooner we get there, the
we've been
sooner it'll be done.
the sooner we get through this, the sooner it's done, and the sooner I can drink these brain cells out of my brain. So we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we will start breaking down Santa Claus, the movie. It's not a movie.
Anya, this snowstorm is getting really bad. I'm terribly afraid we've gotten ourselves lost.
Oh, Claus, we should have waited before going out again.
But we need to get these toys to the children.
Oh, Claus, look, the reindeer. They're starting to slow down.
Oh no! Come on, Donna! Come on, Blitzen! We have to keep going! Oh, Anya, they've fallen over. I have to go out and give them a pep talk.
A pep talk to reindeer in the middle of a blizzard. Oh, I'm not sure that would help.
Ah, it's the only way, my love. Now come on, boys. Just over that hill is warm food and cozy shelter to rest in. But if you lie down here, you'll fucking die. So get up and pull this sleigh.
Okay, you know what? No, I am so sick of this.
My goodness, the reindeer can talk? You're damn right we can.
And honestly, Claus, we're just really sick of your shit, okay? We pull you and your wife all over the place, and all you do is just yell at us to go faster, Donner, go faster, Blitzen. And you know what? How about you pull the damn sleigh if you think we're so slow, okay?
Yeah, and we really don't appreciate how you risk our lives in the middle of this fucking snowstorm to deliver your shitty ass wood carved toys that nobody even wants. So what? You could be like Mr. Big Shot in this poor ass pseudo European village place? Like, where even are we? Oh my god.
Yeah, and by the way, store-bought toys. That's what the kids want. Store-bought toys. And you know what? You don't even give them out to be altruistic or like a nice guy. You're just a big old narcissist who gets off on the attention. Mr. Narcissist Pants.
I know, seriously. And another, whoa. That is one big knife. Well, if you're not going to pull me and the missus to safety, then I'm going to cut you both open and we can slide inside your corpses and survive on the heat from your innards.
Oh, that's gonna hurt. You know what? I think we can keep going. Don't you think we can keep going, Blitzen? Yeah, let's keep going.
Yeah, I'm not really up for this whole disembowelment thing.
Ah, it's kind of grody.
That's what I thought. These are some catty ass reindeer.
I know. And we're back. I don't know about you, John, but I watched this on Peacock, the free version, and the studio logo I got was the Modern Studio Canal logo.
Yeah, I did an online rental. It was Studio Canal as well. That had to have been for the reissue because mine specifically said it was a 25th anniversary edition. This was originally TriStar.
Right, and TriStar was embarrassed to have this movie in its library, and it got rid of it, and good on you, TriStar, for having that level of self-respect. I applaud you.
Wow.
And then we start off with some really cheesy Christmas music and some fake stars. We linger on them way too long.
I don't remember how the song goes, but when I was listening to it, I could totally imagine my mom singing. Like, she loves this kind of crap. Hi, mom. I just called it crap. She's like eagerly anticipating this.
This episode.
Yes.
Oh, cool. Hi, John's mom. I think this movie's terrible, and you're gonna just have to listen to me shit on it. And then we find ourselves listening to an old lady telling a story in feudal England. But then he's got reindeer, so are they in like feudal Norway? Because like reindeer are only really native to Scandinavia slash Russia. I don't know. I'm calling it feudal England.
We don't know where this is. I'm just curious, does this whole village just spend Christmas in the meeting lodge? Or is this sort of like the Every Sperm is Sacred house from Monty Python and the
This is
Meaning of
the Every
Life?
Sperm is Sacred house. Yeah, this is like one family unit in this one roomed house in
Because
the
there's like 20 kids.
yep. Dead of winter with the fakest snow I have ever seen.
It's amazing.
It's like packing peanuts put through a paper shredder. Like it is just the fakest shit.
Movie magic, baby.
God, like soap flakes would have been less fake than this.
Movie magic.
But this VO we're hearing with this old lady is describing the North Pole with the elves, but she calls them Wendy gum or whatever.
Vendigum. Vendigum.
Vend Vendigum or
Yeah, the
I'm gonna
Vendigum.
mispronounce it.
It doesn't matter because apparently that's hate speech. So
Yeah, apparently that's hate speech. We'll get into it. Apparently, on one night of the year, that's clearly Christmas. The ice in the North Pole. They don't call it the North Pole. They call it like whatever magical land. Like I did not learn the details of the story because they're
this
fucking
story
stupid and don't
honestly
matter.
doesn't matter. We can just skip it.
Yeah, tells are basically about like talking about Santa Claus or like the
Well,
elves
no,
in the
they're
North.
just talking about the elves because there is no Santa Claus yet.
Right, talking about the elves in the North Pole, but like it's some allegorical story. And this one kid's like, "Ah, she told the same fucking story last year."
Yeah, and it's called tradition, you little brat.
Fuck folklore, fuck traditional culture, disposable culture for the win. Like you do really well in the TikTok era. This kid was
Yeah, he's just sitting over, staring out the window, just like, ugh.
oh,
Puberty just hit this kid, yeah, even though he's like 9.
So the adults are talking about how someone isn't going to be able to make it this year because of the snowstorm going on outside, but the little boy sees whoever the hell they're talking about and they all get very excited. And I get that feudal Europe was boring as fuck, but does everybody have to rush outside in the middle of a snowstorm to greet someone who's like arriving on a sleigh?
When it's Uncle Claus, yes, his name is Claus. He's not Nicholas, not Nick, nothing like that.
Nope.
His name is Claus.
Just Claus. And also like it's also his last name because like clearly like the lady's Mrs. Claus and
Is she ever referred to as Mrs. I don't think she's ever referred to as Mrs. Claus, though.
I think she's just called Anya or
Yeah,
whatever.
she has a name, but I don't think you ever get Mrs. Claus specifically.
Right. So whatever Claus.
Yeah, his name's Claus. It's
name's
Uncle
Claus, yeah.
Claus, and he makes the toys, and apparently he also chops wood for the entire village.
Yeah, he's a wood cutter slash wood carver. Like he
Yeah.
carves all the toys themselves, and he brings his sack full of goodies in for all the kids, and he won't give them any toys until they all say Happy Christmas in unison because his generosity is conditional. We established that right nice and early.
One of the little touches I love, because I had the subtitles on during this, and it's like the Hulu or Amazon or whatever I watched on their subtitles, so they're not really official.
Right.
So they're talking about how does he, find the time or whatever to chop wood and make toys and do all this stuff and just be such a gosh darn nice person. And Anya's like, "Oh, he makes time. It gives him pleasure."
The way she said this was very uncomfortable.
Well, what made it even more uncomfortable was he goes and talks to little Elsa to give her a toy, like, immediately after this, except the subtitles say "little else." So they're talking like, "This is what gives him pleasure," and Santa goes, "Little else?" Like, I have nothing else in my life.
He's got serious marriage issues. So he gives the kids the toys
And they gotta
and
go, man, they gotta split.
yeah, they gotta go. They gotta give like toys to all the other houses, and it's like, hey, it's like super windy and stormy out there. Like, don't you want to wait?
Yeah, don't. Just don't.
Yeah, don't. That's stupid. And he's like, no, I gotta do it.
The children need me on the other side of the forest.
Yes. We get a good like look at the reindeer during all this. And God, if I were to make a sock puppet and put two sticks through the sock to make
Oh,
antlers,
hell
it
no.
would look so much more real than these fucking
Oh, hell
overstuffed
no.
goddamn teddy bears. They are
No. The antlers are shit. The rest of it's good.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that one. But we learn that they are Donner and Blitzen, huh? So we watch the sleigh with Donner and Blitzen going through the forest with the worst overlay
Oh,
snow
it's so
effects.
bad.
It's
It's
so
so
bad.
bad.
And they get lost, and the reindeer
Well, they
give
don't get
up.
lost. They're on the trail. It's just too bad of a blizzard that, yeah.
So they stop and the reindeer give up. They like plop down onto the ground. And my note here is I would give so much money to watch Mr. and Mrs. Claus open up these reindeer and use them as tauntauns to keep warm.
I have a theory that they actually die in this snowstorm. Unfortunately, the second half of the movie happens because aside from that, this holds true.
Oh, and the rest of the movie's just like
The rest of
they're
the movie is their freezing, oxygen-deprived brain trying to make sense of shit. For the first half of the movie, that follows. But to preface that, I mean, Santa's up there, "Come on, boys, you can do it." And by the way, male reindeer lose their antlers in the winter, so all of Santa's reindeers are female, and you need to stop misgendering them, Claus.
oh shit. Yeah, because he refers to them as his boys and
Yeah.
come on, men,
Well,
and wow.
everyone does. Everyone
Yeah,
does. When Patch is taking care of them later and all that. Yeah, good boys. Anyway,
wow.
this comes our very first really dark line in this wonderful, whimsical holiday movie, and you're not even 7 minutes in, where Santa's telling the reindeer that, "Hey, just over there we got warm beds and da da da, but here is where you freeze to death." And then Anya freaks out because she's too cold, and he runs back and they fall asleep, supposedly. I'm saying they die.
Yeah, I say they die. And the movie, ended after 8 minutes and Nick didn't have to watch the rest of this bullshit. Ah, God, if only.
While they're dying, you can see the, like, lights in the window of the house they just left, and so it's clear they traveled a total of 50 meters. That house is way too fucking close. Like, they just got started and now they're dead.
Yeah, don't go out in snowstorms, folks. Just don't do it. But they don't die of exposure. Instead, they find themselves being woken up by this insanely bright star, and for some reason, they're in the Arctic. One of the reindeer wakes everybody up because of this bright thing, and then all of a sudden, they're surrounded by short dudes in colorful outfits who are smiling creepily.
Yep.
I've seen this porno.
I've seen this horror film.
I've seen this horror porno.
Ooh.
Anyways, look, this is the first of many instances of where this movie is trying to use behavior that works well in animation, but is just fucking creepy in live action.
Such as?
Okay, so they come around, they're all smiling and gleeful and blah, blah, blah. And these are the elves. They are played by fully grown adults.
Mhm.
They didn't get little people to play the elves because I think that would have been a little on the nose.
They didn't do, like, any forced perspective or try to do anything like that to make them seem really tiny. They're just kinda short. I mean, maybe Santa stands on an apple box, or something like that, but
Right.
at
But
most.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They just got really short, fully grown adults to play the elves, and so when they behave like twee elves, it's really fucking disturbing.
It's the magic of the season.
No! Grown ass adults don't behave like that. They don't look like they didn't alter the ears.
No, they didn't. There's nothing that would denote them as elves if you just gave them different clothing and got rid of their blush. They have amazingly rosy cheeks.
They have amazingly rosy cheeks, but also, like, they're wearing, like, just random polka dot, like, brightly colored polka dot shirts. Like, there's nothing particularly Christmassy about, like, it's just all very multicolored. Like, it's nothing like you would normally see of a depiction of like, Santa's elves slash Santa's village. Yeah, so their behavior, so, like, when you watch, claymation or animated Christmas movies, those elves are all smiling and bouncing and da 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 da, and they're all, way smaller relative to Santa, and they don't look like real people. They look like, this fictionalized creature. Like, there's something appropriate about that insanely happy, bouncy behavior. Transfer that to fully grown adults, it's just fucking weird, man.
It's whimsy.
You and I have very different definitions of whimsy, but anyways, they
I'm
come
more of
out,
just playing devil's advocate, really.
or just the devil. You're just the devil right now. Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus are like, "Holy shit, it's the Wendy gum," and the main elf, who we
Like,
will later,
whoa, we prefer elves. All
yeah,
right.
get woke.
Yeah, seriously.
And so the older elf, his name's Dooley, introduces himself, and it's like, "Where are we? Home." Well, that doesn't answer the fucking question, dude.
Yeah, this is really cultish.
Yeah, very cultish.
You wake up to a whole bunch of smiling short people in very vibrant clothing who welcome you home.
Yeah, like this is the start of a horror movie. And also, you're literally telling these people that they live there now, not giving them a choice, by the way. They get no choice into anything that happens to them. This Claus guy becoming Santa Claus is entirely without his consent, essentially.
Yes. Yes, it is.
And, while they're discussing the terms of the Claus's surrender, Dudley Moore, that plays this elf called Patch, he's investigating the sleigh.
And he is talking some shit
Talking some
about
shit
it.
about it because, he's the tech guy who likes machines, and that's gonna pay off later. And so without putting up any real fight, they follow the elves back to the village that, like, magically appears in front of them. And, this line, Dooley, the older elf, who's kind of like the main elf, he's like, "Lead and follow, follow and lead."
Oh yeah, you get a bunch of this like flip and repeat throughout the movie. This is the first of many. Lead and follow, follow and lead. We weren't expecting someone so young and pretty, pretty and young. The reindeer have snorts and whinnies, whinnies and
Just
snorts. We also get our first elf pun, which is any phrase that has the word self in it and you drop the S. So you get some elf confidence, elf esteem, blah, 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 and so
yeah,
forth.
Patch does a lot of these, and they are all terrible. They're all
They are
terrible. They're
really
so
bad.
bad. The writer really thought he was clever. Also doesn't understand the fundamentals of, like, storytelling. It's a whole thing.
But they did Superman, so they do understand. Anyway,
Didn't fucking transfer those skills to this goddamn movie, that's for sure. We go to Santa's workshop, we get a protracted look around. It's like all wood and
again, I like the production design. I like the look of this, and I am impressed by the restraint they used on not slapping paint over every goddamn surface. The elves have tons of colorful clothing, and there are certain things like the clock or, certain objects that are brightly painted, but most of it's just unfinished wood. It's not even stained or lacquered or anything. It's just plain wood, but very well crafted and shaped.
fair enough.
And it makes everything else just kind of pop and stick out more. I mean, if everything was brightly colored, then the elves are getting lost in the picture. You can't see where anyone is, that kind of shit. It works really well.
Fine, I'll give it that. But it's kind of negated by the fact that we see a lot more excited elves looking at the Clauses with their creepy ass smiles.
Yes, but that's because the prophecy is coming true. This is not a cult.
And yeah, so they're giving him a tour of this place. Yeah. And we get a glance of the elf sleeping quarters, which are communal for reasons.
Oh, I got something to say about that when their day starts,
Oh,
but
I have
all
a
right.
lot to say about that
It's
too.
probably the same thing.
So Patch tells him, he's got this idea of heating it with pipes, and nobody knows what pipes are because it's feudal times. But he's the tech guy.
We meet not Tom Segura during this, where he tries to just come up and introduce himself and say hi. And this is the beginning of the rivalry that lasts, for the first half of the movie. This is our main source of conflict is Dudley Moore just, like, shuts him down.
Oh, yeah.
He comes walking up and he's like, "Hey, it's an honor to meet you," and Dudley Moore's just like, "Puffy, dude, they're here for the tour. Good, just quit wasting time."
Yeah, just fuck off.
Just shuts him down, yeah.
Yeah, Patch is kind of a dick, and then takes him to the toy warehouse, and this is supposedly a triumphant moment.
Okay, this gets back to the "they're dead" theory. They're like, "Oh, check out what we fucking got for you." And his biggest joy, his sense of, pleasure was the toys for the
Right.
children and making and delivering them. And then this warehouse, quote unquote, is a single aisle full of toys, the only thing that brings him pleasure, with a bright light at the end.
Very true.
This is literally his heavenly passage.
Very true, because this warehouse full of toys is where they store the toys, but it's also the launch bay from which they launch the sleigh.
Right, but still, in this moment, you don't know
You don't know that.
that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree. But yeah, the music thinks it's a triumphant moment. He asks what the elves what the toys are for. They say it's for the Christmas toys, and you're going to give them.
To your children. And they're like, "We don't have kids."
Yeah. Also, by the way, this we don't have kids, and also he's like, you're gonna give these to all the toys to all the kids in the world, and he's like, yeah, man, I'm not gonna live long enough to do that.
Oh, no, 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 you're gonna live
You're gonna
forever.
live forever.
This is now your job forever.
Don't give somebody immortality without their consent. That's fucked up. That's so fucked up. That's a curse if you're not down for it. But the existential and consent implications don't end there. We're about to come.
Oh, yeah.
So behind closed doors, we hear the Clauses talking about how they can't sleep. My note here is, are we about to hear Santa and Mrs. Claus fuck? I feel like this conversation leads to them fucking.
But no, he gets up to go
He
for a
gets to
walk.
and by the way, this is like a cubby in the wall that they are sleeping in. Comically small relative to the size of them.
It's basically like there was this giant room, and then to go to the bed, you had to enter Bilbo Baggins's hobbit hole.
Well described.
It's this round door that you have to go up a few little steps into.
Ridiculous. So
Ah.
Santa just kind of intuits walking down the hallway to where they keep the reindeer. That Patch is there.
I think he hears Patch because Patch is trying to get Donner to eat, and because Donner's scared. I kind of like this. I mean, it doesn't pay off really in any way except that Donner's a coward. But in this one brief scene, each reindeer gets a personality.
You're right. They each get a personality. None of it matters, like you said, except for
N-
Donner being a coward. And Patch apparently sleeps here with the reindeer. This is his room. He likes to sleep in a pile of reindeer shit and feed them alfalfa sprouts. That's apparently what reindeers eat.
And then he just keeps teasing Santa, where he's like, "Oh, wait till this happens." Well, what do you mean? Oh, you'll
You'll
see.
see.
Oh, and this place seems awesome, but then Season's Greetings. Oh, what Season's Greetings? You'll see.
They'll
Like,
never explain season's greetings.
they really don't. Even when it happens, I don't understand it. I never have.
But so yeah, so he's like, why do you need all the reindeer? You'll see.
Yeah, like even why do we need reindeer?
You could just say, yeah, they pull the sleigh that you're gonna fly around
It's like
in.
you're gonna deliver the toys. You need them to pull the sleigh. Anyway.
Anyways, before he does this, he tells Santa, before he does you'll see, he tells him, Santa that he's an inventor. He has an idea for an alarm clock. Pin in that, by the fucking way.
I'll say in like 10 more seconds here.
Like 10 more seconds, put a fucking pin. He's also invented a plate that whistles when your food is too hot.
Which, I mean, it seems like a tea kettle sort of thing where you would have the steam come up and that sounds a whistle, except it whistles because he blows down the straw thing. It doesn't make
Yes.
sense. It doesn't
Makes
make
no goddamn sense. Like most of this movie makes no goddamn sense.
sense.
Okay, so that's
It
Patch.
makes sense. It's just boring.
Yeah. Cut to the next day. And Patch apparently didn't even need to invent an alarm clock because they already have one.
Well,
It
they have
wakes
a
up.
cuckoo clock. Now, I like to think this happens every fucking hour. And that's the main difference.
My question here is, do they have hot bunking like they do on submarines? Because at the edge of each of their beds, they have these like rolling blocks with their names on it. So they get
Yes, when you get out of bed, you turn it to the next name.
like hot bunking on a submarine. Do they have a 24-hour?
No, everyone gets up at the same time. Everyone goes to work at the same time.
Yeah, and the music, they really wanted to start playing Hi Ho from Snow White
I
and the Seven
like
Dwarfs.
this music. I really do.
It was fine.
It's jolly and bouncy, and it's perfect for the mood. It's Henry Mancini, damn it. I mean, he's written some classics. None of them are in this movie, but Pink Panther theme, Peter Gunn.
Okay, fine. But then we get the elves making toys and they're just kind of bouncing and
They're
smiling in
doing it all
unison.
to the yeah, to the rhythm. Everything's happening to the rhythm of the music as well.
Yeah, behavior that if you're watching an animated movie or claymation makes fucking sense because those are tropes that we understand from these media.
Whimsy.
Not grown ass men in a fucking live action movie. It's crazy. It's so
Whimsy.
crazy. No,
Whimsy.
it's not whimsy. It's bad, John.
It's the joy and magic of the season, damn it.
No, it's a grown ass adults. It's not appropriate. Stupid. So in the middle of this, Mrs. Claus is supervising the tailor who's making the Santa suit, and it's green, and she's like, "Yeah, it's just not his color." And Puffy suggests brown.
God damn it, not Tom Segura. Who suggests brown? I mean, I know he showed up wearing furs, but god damn.
Yeah, and then Patch suggests red, and Mrs. Claus likes that because it'll match Santa's cheeks.
Aw.
Ugh.
Oh, and by the way, Santa wears an extra large because the tailor's like, I've never had to do an extra large before.
Yep.
This guy's at least triple X. Come on.
Yeah, at least triple X, but also not the first time we're gonna fat shame Santa in this movie.
Oh god. Oh man. I still remember that scene from being a kid. I can't wait. So yeah, it's still more day in the life. Elves are making toys. There's this giant cauldron of, I guess, stew. And Mrs. Claus takes a taste and then is like, this needs some seasoning, which she adds to the ladle.
Yeah, to the ladle, not to the stew, to the ladle. Fucking madness, this movie.
So yeah, there's some weird shit in this montage. I mean, again, it's a happy bouncy music, but you still catch these things that make it wait, what?
And then we get bouncy elves churning out Disney animated pixie dust.
They start drugging the reindeer food, the alfalfa sprouts.
Yeah, like they're mining this Disney animated pixie dust because this movie really wanted to be a fucking Disney
There's a
movie.
lot of
Like,
sparkles in this movie. A lot
a
of
lot of
sparkles.
goddamn sparkles.
And they even show how wrapping paper is made. They have these giant sheets of colored paper and they blow glitter at it, and then it sticks in like stars and ornament patterns and shit like that, and snowflake patterns.
Yep, reindeer get groomed to the beat, and like the presents are getting loaded into the sack. And now the toy making stops because it's time to stargaze. Dooley is like in this weird.
It's a telescope like you get in an observatory, but it's all wood. No idea if there's even lenses in the thing.
Yes,
And he's counting down to season's greetings, which is apparently the only time they ever see the sun
apparently.
because a hole opens in the roof and light streams in, and everyone's just happy as shit. And that is season's greetings, and they start dancing around.
But he's like waiting for it, and he yells now.
And that's when they all look up because there's no way they could have just looked up at any time when the light started beaming in.
Right, there's no point. There's nothing they need to do after he yells now. There's nothing that
No.
requires timing, and
There's nothing that requires a countdown.
no.
They can just be like, oh, hey, it's time to open the roof because in 30 seconds, we get sunlight in the middle of winter in the Arctic, whatever.
Yeah, so snow starts falling through, the elves get really happy with this bright star flash, and then they start dancing in a circle, and my note here is, did I just have a stroke? What the fuck is this scene?
It's season's greetings.
It sees I
You have seen. You have seen.
I have seen, and I stroked out because I didn't know what the fuck I was watching. So Santa is now in his red suit, and he's practicing flying in a chair
Yeah.
while saying compass directions out loud, like then southwest, then north. Like this means nothing because when you're flying, you're not going to be making such rapid course corrections. You're not flying a helicopter through a major metropolitan area. You're flying either from house to house where you can see the house, or if you're flying between cities and towns, you're going to have a general bearing. Like,
This gets even more confusing because, as we'll learn in a moment, at this point, he doesn't know he's going to be flying.
no.
No, they
That's
tell him
fucking
after
true.
this scene.
That's so true.
So what the hell is this?
I don't know.
Now, that said, I do like the use of the mirror in this scene. It's actually a really well constructed shot because Anya comes in and you see like the back of her, but there's a mirror next to him so you see her. And it's just the blocking, the production design. I really like that. The rest of the scene makes no damn sense because she's like, I'm so proud of you. He hasn't done anything.
No, he hasn't done
She helped
anything.
with the stew. She helped with the costume design. All the elves did the same damn thing they've been doing for however long they've been making these toys and painting
But
them.
he's the protagonist, so that's why.
Oh, and we totally skipped over it. They use their beards to paint the toys.
I missed that. Your thing makes sense from earlier.
They've got these long ass beards that are braided, and they use the tips. They dip them in the paint and use them to paint the toys.
My brain refused to encode that.
And there's some elves that don't have beards, and they use other people's. They use braids off of someone else because a dude gets interrupted because his head gets yanked.
God damn this movie.
That's why you looked at me so bewildered when you said
My
that,
brain
man.
refused to
Like,
encode it.
wow.
So much of this movie was my brain be like, "Nope, I'm not gonna remember this. Nope, nope. I refuse. This is fucking stupid. This is fucking stupid. This whole movie's nope, I'm not gonna remember this shit. Fuck you, Nick." That was my brain the entire time I watched this movie. Yeah, so basically comes in, says she's proud of him, says he looks good in the suit, and then Dooley comes in and tells him that everyone's waiting for him. That's the fucking scene.
And then we get another super long elves just staring and smiling and talking about how great Santa looks.
This was the most ridiculously homoerotic part of the movie. Just all these grown ass men talking about how awesome Santa looks, as if he's like the belle to the ball.
Well, I gotta say, I love this Santa suit. There's something I never noticed before as a kid, but I did now. Every Santa suit has that big white fur stripe down the front that's just there.
Right.
This doesn't.
Hmm.
This is a coat. It is a fur-lined coat that buttons closed, and then it's extra fur sticking out where they overlap.
I'll take your word for it because again, my brain refused to remember that.
Again, the production design is really good. It's really awesome. He's got the classic, sort of Santa getup and the big cloak over it that some Santas have, some Santas don't. And this one just looks fucking amazing. It's really good.
Well, speaking of white fur, now we get the oldest elf.
Yes, character name in the credits is actually Ancient Elf.
Yeah, ancient
And
elf.
this is the only time you see him, and it's Burgess fucking Meredith.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, yeah. What episode was that we established that you don't know Adam West Batman? Anyway, he played the Penguin in that series.
Oh, cool. Good for him.
Yeah.
Well, now he's in this piece of shit, so now I'm judging him
He
based off
was
of that.
amazing.
Uh,
He has got the most amazing beard you've ever seen.
Comes in a procession, and all the elves are like taking their hats off because like he's the one that they all respect. He's the senior, whatever. But his beard is so long that the guys in his procession have to wrap the beard around their hands to stop it from dragging on the ground.
And there's 5 elves on each side. And it gets braided. Once it gets to the first guy, like it's braided even, so that shortens it. He wraps it around his hand a shitload of times, and that goes over his shoulder and then, onto the next person, the next person, the next person. And then the folks at the end have it like draped back and forth over their shoulders like 3 or 4 more goddamn times. This thing is amazing.
Insanely long beard. And like I said, the elves take off their hats and there's hushed tones, and Mrs. Claus tries to kneel like he's the queen, but Patch like pulls her up and he's like, no, he's not that big a fucking deal. Also, by the way, the reindeer fucking bow as well.
Yes. Yes, they do. The reindeer lower their heads in reverence.
So the ancient elf explains to Santa that he is there to fulfill a prophecy. They were waiting for someone to come who didn't have any kids,
But loved kids.
loved kids, was an artisan and a craftsman.
Skills he has not used since he's been there.
That he, yeah, definitely not. Or he will use once in the movie, by the way.
Yep, only one more
One
time.
more time after this. And I forget the other things. Loves to give like whatever. All the shit. And I'm just like,
Again, this was a scene that I remember feeling even longer than it does. Because this drags on.
but here's the thing. I want to say because he gives like we were waiting for someone who fits all these criteria, and I'm like, oh, so literally every fucking elf in your workshop fits this criteria. You didn't have to wait for. You could just give it like, hey, Frank, you're Santa Claus. You're an artisan, and you don't have kids.
Well, you're Santa Frank, because his name's already Claus. So
Right.
now you're Santa Frank. Yeah, he gets bestowed with the title of Santa as if it means something.
Right. But again, any elf fits these criteria of the prophecy. All the elves fit this criteria. Any elf could have been Santa. Waiting for some random dude from feudal Europe was fucking pointless.
It's prophecy.
This prophecy's stupid.
To quote the Dark Crystal, prophets don't know everything. So Santa is still learning and being given information about what his job is.
As he's about to fly off.
Yeah, as it's about to take off for the very first time, because it's like, now you have to deliver these toys to all the children of the world. And he's like, how the hell am I supposed to deliver these toys in one night? And this is where we get another really dark line.
This line.
Burgess Meredith says, "The night of the world is a passage of endless night for you until your mission is done." That is some metal shit right
That
there.
sounded like a
That is
fucking
it's a threat,
threat. It's a
right?
threat. It is
Yes!
absolutely a threat.
It's said in the most gentle, kindest way possible, but my god.
Okay, so here's the thing. This is fucking crazy because like, if you think of the implications of this, the night lasts as long as it needs to for him to deliver all the toys he needs to all the kids around the world.
Yep.
In order to do that, like let's say he could fly around and do this and do all the toys, and like for him, time is distorted. So for us, it's one night, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, whatever.
For him, for one night a year, he would live in a night for several years. That's fucking dark. You have to live an extra several years of life in total blackness, away from like your loved ones.
Until your mission is done.
That's fucked. And again, he is given this task without his consent.
I know.
It's so fucking dark if you think about it. So we never see this guy again, Ancient
Nope.
Elf. And by the way, this is all information that Dooley could have delivered. We didn't need this fucking guy. Stupid, because Dooley's been like introducing him to all this shit anyway. He could have just kept doing that job. Needed to pad the fucking runtime apparently, and now a bunch of elves prance out with bowls of alfalfa spiked with Disney magic,
Yep.
and they feed them to the reindeer, and we see this power up the reindeer,
Yep.
and the reindeer make a face which is either them taking a violent shit or having a violent orgasm face. It is either or.
Yeah, I can't really tell. They definitely get the shivers going. And they're like,
Yes, exactly what they
that's the sound they make.
The eyes bulge like, yeah, it is, yeah, like I said, they're either taking a violent shit or they're just like having a giant orgasm right there. It is either or both. I don't think, maybe they're not mutually exclusive. Just a nice shit.
Wow.
This is a face we will see multiple times on the reindeer throughout the film, but this is it at its like most. So Santa takes off to elves cheering and throwing their hats and dancing around as he flies out. And this is where Donner realizes that he's scared and Santa realizes that he's flying and whatever. Cue montage of Santa doing Santa stuff throughout multiple centuries.
This montage is in two parts, and I really like the first part. It's a really cheap way to go about doing this. You see the passage of time with an hourglass that has markings on it denoting centuries,
Yes.
which brings up a whole host of questions like what happens when you flip it over or the sand runs out?
Pass. Don't care.
Okay, all right. It's just like the end of existence or something, maybe. Who knows?
Sure.
So that's how you get passage through time. You get shots of just Santa flying in the night sky.
Yep.
They didn't do like any sets or anything of him going to different countries or entering different homes, and especially over different time periods. It was a great way to save money. And every once in a while, children will fade in and out playing with toys. There's this instrumental medley playing of traditional Christmas songs, and it changes, each century basically. It's really nice. The visuals of Santa flying are every Christmas card ever. Like, it's perfect. It's perfect imagery. And then we get to the 18th century, which is apparently the very first time there was ever a naughty child. But after this, I mean, we want to hit on that in a moment.
Right.
But after this, the montage continues, and it's an original song called Thank You, Santa.
Okay. Again, my brain refused to remember this.
It's all these children singing, and I want to isolate the vocal track when I get like lottery money and buy an abandoned house that kids go into like to get high and drink and set up motion sensors. And well, now we have like Ring, that sort of thing. So I can like hidden camera, I'll get an alert, that says the motion sensors are tripped. And I'll wait until they've gotten a little bit fucked up and I'll hit play. And this song starts playing because this is some abandoned orphanage type shit. Oh my god, this
great
song,
prank.
Thank You, Santa. I hate it. I hate this song with a passion. I never liked it.
It sucks. So yeah, so we start off the montage. He's delivering toys to all the good white girls and boys. He starts off with the white kids, gotta. And then they notice that they're getting more letters as more kids learn how to read and write through the centuries.
Mhm.
So apparently, if you weren't able to write a letter to Santa, you could go fuck yourself.
Pretty much.
This is where we start getting an insight into the classes of Santa because it's only for the literate. If you can afford an education, will he bring you toys?
Well, he's not telepathic. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Okay, so
well,
anyway, mid montage,
we get to the 18th century.
yeah, we get a scene of this kid committing animal abuse against a cat.
Yeah.
He tells his sister to just shut the hell up and go away. So she writes a letter to Santa complaining, a letter to Santa complaining about this.
Right. By the way, this letter does a reverse Hogwarts acceptance letter because she writes it and then it magically goes up the chimney as opposed to coming down the chimney.
Well, it comes down the chimney in the workshop.
Well, it comes down the chimney of the workshop, but like for her, from her
Yeah,
perspective,
yeah,
it
yeah.
does a reverse Hogwarts.
Okay.
Mrs. Claus reads the letter and he's like, you shouldn't be giving toys to naughty kids. And Santa's like, well, no, I should give it to all kids. And like, it's not fair. And basically, like, Mrs. Claus nags Santa into creating the naughty list.
But it's not even that much nagging. She's like, wait, hold on. If kids aren't behaving properly, they just shouldn't get any sort of reward at all.
It took several centuries for
I
this
know.
to
That's just what I'm saying. Like, it took several centuries for there to be one bad kid, or at least for Santa to figure out that kids can be brats. Like,
Right, yeah, like, I mean, you surely saw that when you lived back in feudal Europe. Who the fuck knows?
but yeah. So anyway, this is where we get the origin story of the naughty and nice list. He tells Dooley to write it, and oh, be careful, I'll be checking it twice. So it's all in there.
My note here is we're 35 minutes into this movie, and there's yet to be an actual plot or stakes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the second half of the montage happens, and it's
Santa discovers that there's also black kids and Asian kids. He
yeah,
discovers that there's more than white kids, so that they do get their presents, but they gotta wait a few centuries.
a nice touch that obviously you wouldn't have seen because you didn't even notice the creepy children singing. As time passes, the toys change.
Do they?
Yeah, early on, there was one kid that got an abacus.
Okay.
But then, you'd have horses, a soldier, a windmill. And by the time we get to the 20th century, the toys, I mean, they're still all made out of wood, but it's cars and airplanes and such. So they do change and grow over time.
Interesting.
Again, production design is nice. Nothing else.
So fun fact about my childhood, the first year or two that I went to school in South Africa, required supplies included an abacus. Never learned how to use it. I don't know why the fuck they required us to have an abacus. I had an abacus.
That was one of the things because like people would say like if it's an older way of doing it, it's like, oh, let me write this down. It's like, oh, we'll just get an abacus. Like I have no idea how those things are supposed to work, but apparently you can do calculus on them. I
Oh, I'm sure you can, but here again, like I said, nope, I was a required school supply that I was never taught how to use.
that was like we were required to have a compass, like the ones for making circles,
Right.
not directions, and a protractor. Never used them.
Oh, we use those all the time in my high school. Yeah, that was required for us, and we got good use out of them.
That was required for me in like third grade.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, we never used them. Anyway,
So, anyways, we also see that Santa magicking up and down the chimney, so we know how that works.
and this is where Santa's fat shaming really kicks
Yeah,
in.
because Dooley is reading out this brand new poem about Santa called "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." I'm
That's
sure
not its title.
what is it called?
It's A Visit from St. Nicholas,
Oh well, excuse me.
princess.
But anyways, he's reading it. It's the one that goes, "'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the
Yeah,
house."
you know it. And it gets to
It's with his
but
belly that
shook when
wriggled
he
around.
laughed like a bowl full of jelly, and Santa's like, what, wait, what?
The fuck are they saying about me?
Yeah. And he's like, is that how they think I look? I'm like, dude, you've looked like this the whole
The
time.
whole movie.
The whole time.
You've got Santa bod.
And there's a lot of this, again, I remembered as a kid, but there's one bit that I didn't, that I never picked up on. So Mrs. Claus, like, she starts to be nice and then just drops the facade altogether.
Yeah, he's like, "It's the cookies." Like,
She's like, the cookies. And all the elves are like, yeah, the cookies and cookies. And they're kind of murmuring it like, yeah, sorry, hate to tell you. What I did not remember from my childhood is that Dudley Moore and his little entourage start snickering.
what an asshole.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, the cookies, the cookies.
Wow. Again, I
Yeah.
I just watched this movie again these past few days. My brain refused to encode that because it physically tried to reject this movie in its entirety.
See, I know this movie so well, I can tune into the details now because I'm so familiar with the rest of it.
Fantastic. But glad you're here. Also, fuck you again for making me watch this movie.
You're welcome.
Moving on, because then we see Santa angrily eating carrot stew because he's on a diet,
He is not eating carrots too.
or leek stew, or
He
whatever the
has
fuck.
no, there's no fluid. It's this bowl, and I like to
Oh,
think that this was his entire meal. So there's these long carrot sticks, and then I don't know what the white ones are supposed to be. It looks like white celery with an olive where they meet, so they make like an X or a plus or whatever. And then there's a couple pieces of broccoli underneath in the bowl, and that's it. Like that's his whole meal, I
and he's
guess.
very grumpy about this.
He's really upset.
By the way, folks, the montage took a break. The music
No,
stopped.
no.
These were just regular scenes, and now we're back in the montage. The montage, got a snack, took a drink, went to the bathroom, and now it's back.
Yeah, but it's pretty much over because we're now getting into the 20th century,
I know.
and Santa's just got too much of a workload now. It's just too busy. He's overworked. I don't know what he does, but he's overworked.
He's over. Yeah, what the fuck is he doing? Like this turnkey operation that the elves just kept working on. He works one night of the year. Like after doing 3 to 5 years of work in one night, taking a year off might not be enough time to rest and recuperate from your night of work. But what the fuck do you do otherwise? Yeah. And by the way, we're in the 20th century and all the toys are still just made out of wood and paint.
Yeah. By the way, all the toys get stamped where it says elf made.
Yeah.
All of those toys got donated for
Really?
like orphanages, foster care, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Well, that's nice of the production.
Which is always sort of like it was nice. Again, this is my mom. How that was a nice, sweet thing to do, but she really wanted to have some to keep. Again, she loves this. She absolutely loves this thing.
John's mom, please watch some other movies. We've made some really good ones before and since. Like you can do better, John's mom. You can do better. I promise. I believe in you.
She just loves Christmas. It's
Christmas is
whimsy.
great. This is like I love Christmas too. I fucking love me some Christmas. It's the only holiday my family because we grew up in South Africa. We didn't celebrate 4th of July. We didn't celebrate Thanksgiving. Halloween wasn't a thing. Christmas was our jam. It still is our jam. Love me some Christmas. Hate me this fucking movie.
Okay, so we find out that Patch has invented the snow globe now that we're in the 20th century.
Yeah, and this is also when Mrs. Claus suggests that Santa get an assistant because he's almost falling asleep in his bowl of soup.
Oh yeah, like he just got back and Dooley's starting to go over lists for next year, and she's like, he just got home. Jesus, man, you know.
Yeah, he just lived 5 years in the span of a night. Like maybe chill the fuck out a bit.
But no, this is something that made me go down a little internet rabbit hole. There's a company in Austria that claims to be the original like snow globes as we know them now, and that started in 1900. But there've been a few like in France and stuff a few decades before. So Patch is behind the times with his inventions. He's like, I just invented this thing. Humans have had it for 30 years.
Yes. So dumb. It's so dumb, this movie. So dissolve to New York, that's definitely not England.
I'll say, yeah, they mentioned needing an assistant, and then they leave that for now.
Yeah, pause on that. We'll deal with that later because now we're in New York City. That's definitely not England where they filmed this movie. Shut up. We see a street Santa, kind of like the Salvation Army ones, but it's not the Salvation Army, ringing a bell, taking donations.
Pocketing some of it and drinking some booze.
Joe will see this momentarily because Joe, who's this orphan street urchin who's now a main character, over 45 minutes into this
Who we
fucking.
don't learn his name for like another 15 minutes of the
Nope.
movie.
No, we fucking don't.
It just focuses on this kid. We have no idea who he is.
So my question is, when do you graduate from being a street urchin and you're just a homeless guy? Like, what's the age where the terminology changes?
The ability to have stubble. Like,
Yeah. Okay. So once you get stubble, you're just a homeless guy.
yeah, you got to get that unshaven hobo look.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Good.
Now, what I want to know is what kind of shit did Joe get into previously?
Where he
Because
hides from the cops.
yes, a cop car starts to drive down the street and he like ducks into the alley and presses himself up against the wall as if they're actively searching for him.
But they're not. He's done
No.
nothing that we've seen. He's just walking down the street. He took a newspaper out of a garbage can, which I don't think is illegal.
Yeah, pretty sure that's okay.
Why does he hide from the cops? Because fuck you.
Otherwise, it's a kid out at like 6 p.m. because it's gonna be dark, but there's people walking around with their shopping and shit. Like,
Right. And so he sees the Santa, as you mentioned, when nobody's looking, he steals out of the collection box.
well, he thinks no one's looking.
Well, he
Joe
thinks
sees
no
the
one's looking.
shit.
Joe's
Yeah.
watching him. Pulls out a brown paper bag, drinks out of it. So, this is to establish that Joe has a very dim view of Santa Claus given his personal experiences.
Yeah, see, this is where we shift from the magic and whimsy of the season into the jaded consumerism. We're starting to get there now.
Right.
And someone's watching Joe.
So he looks into the mansion across the street, and there's just a little rich girl smiling down at him, and he smiles back. And why is this happening?
I don't know.
Why? This is fucking ridiculous.
So she gets called away to finish her homework, and we establish that apparently she's under the care of her uncle.
No, no, her step uncle.
Step uncle, yeah, who's also absentee. He apparently doesn't pay attention to her or what her grades are or anything because she's like, he won't even care. He doesn't look at my report cards.
Yeah, but this little girl's name is Cornelia.
These kids are better at acting than Homeward Bound kids.
Oh, hands down. The problem with this kid's acting is that they were given shit lines.
Yeah, yeah, they actually do a pretty decent job.
Yeah, they did a solid job given the material. Hats off to them. Good job, kids. You did your best.
They don't have dead eyes.
They don't have dead eyes. They have expressions. Joe's actually really solid.
Yeah.
I think Cornelia, she wrote some books later in life. Like, good for you, Cornelia. Back at the North Pole, Puffy and Patch are pitching to Santa why they should be his assistant.
And by the way, fuck yeah, Santa for putting it into the argument because Puffy's talking about how it's all traditional and Patch is talking about how he's going to be modern and everything. And well, your way's boring. Well, your way's sloppier. Da 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 da. And they're just bickering. And Santa cuts in and says, "Don't give me campaign promises. Give me results. The one who gets the job is the one who does the job best."
Right.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, fuck yeah, Santa. So basically, we have modernization and innovation versus traditional methods and quality control.
So now we get another montage of making toys.
And by the way, Puffy has to do nothing.
So yeah, we've got two teams now. Not Tom Segura is walking around just glassing. And everything's done the same old way we've already seen. Hammer it together, paint it, sand it.
The way that it's been done for hundreds of years and has been proven to work.
And Patch is standing at this giant table, and people walk by with things like a duck and an arrow, and he points at shit, and it turns out they're building an automated factory assembly line out of wood.
Yes, that is exactly what they're doing.
And instantly shit starts to break down.
Well, at first it works, right? At first we see it.
For like the first 8 toys. It's during this same montage. I feel like the shit breaking down should have happened a little bit later. We continue to see it later.
Right. Talking about how the manufacturing process breaks down, because we see it at first works, like the things get screwed to the right way, and then it goes faster and faster and faster. We see like the screws not going into the wheels of the tricycle as it's
Right.
being manufactured. So these should all have broken the split second they came out of the machine, but no. This is like, despite nothing being screwed in, the toys stay together. How my brain was like, I want to figure, no, I don't want to figure out the fucking mechanics of this because this movie's stupid and I hate it and whatever.
This breakdown should have happened later. Like, we show them getting made. We see the results, which, spoiler alert, Patch makes a shitload more toys so he gets the job. And then we see them getting made shoddily. And so now it's like when Santa goes over, like he sees Puffy's pile and it looks nice. But all he does is just glance at him. It's like, oh, you got more toys. You got the job. There's no inspection.
Nope.
He doesn't look at anything. And so if they had performed quality control, they'd be like, no, these are shit. Puffy, you get the job.
But again, this movie's stupid.
But again, if they move that part of the montage to later, then it all fits together and makes sense.
There was a sensical movie in here somewhere. They had the like
Somewhere.
somewhere in this movie there was a real movie. They just decided not to make it. But I have to mention something that you might not have picked up on from Puffy's pile of toys.
Oh?
This is only something you would have noticed if you were familiar with British culture. If Julian was here, he might have picked up on it as well. In Puffy's pile of toys is a gollywog.
I am not that familiar with British culture. What is a gollywog?
A gollywog is a racist doll that some people are like, no, it's not racist. It's part of our heritage. It's a pitch black doll with inner tube red lips.
Oh god. So it's like the American, like the black, salt and pepper shaker sort of thing, you know?
Are you familiar with Zwarte Piet from the Netherlands? Like when Dutch people do blackface, that's obviously racist and from colonial times. Yeah, so imagine Zwarte Piet was a fucking doll.
Well, damn it, because I was always on Puffy's side.
Yeah, Puffy made a
Damn it,
racist
Puffy.
ass doll. Yeah, he made, and this is from like it was used in advertising. There were books of the Gollywog. He had a whole like
Oh,
sit like
man.
a literary universe, and like there were Gollywog dolls. Britain's kind of like try to wind this back. This was like the 80s. They don't give a fuck, but like there is a goddamn Gollywog on this. Like look up a Gollywog after this. Like it is horrifying, and Puffy made a Gollywog, so Puffy's a racist, and Puffy can go fuck himself.
Puffy oversaw the production of he didn't make it. We know he didn't make shit.
Yeah, and Hitler didn't, gas anybody directly in the concentration camps, but he's still kind of responsible.
Charles Manson never killed anybody.
Charles Manson never killed anyone. Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. We're comparing a Christmas elf to Charles Manson and Hitler. Welcome to the podcast, new listener.
My face matches my shirt now.
It does. It's really red. The-
It might go purple here in a moment. Oh my god. All right, well, we need to get past this shit.
Right, moving on.
So, but Puffy is a very gracious loser. You
He's a
know,
very gracious
he gets his
loser.
pat on the back, and he gives a little applause for Dudley Moore.
Yeah, and Dudley Moore Patch gets a red apron that's his assistant.
Yes, a red apron.
Mm-hmm.
All right, back to This Is Totally New York City. And I have This Moment of Homelessness is brought to you by McDonald's. This was, at the time, the most expensive piece of product placement ever put into a movie.
Get the fuck out of here.
This extended McDonald's sequence. It's just this long sequence of people smiling and enjoying their McDonald's food while Joe is outside literally with his hands pressed up against the window wishing he could have something to fucking eat.
Yeah, and this is when McDonald's was dirt cheap. Have you been to McDonald's lately, dude? It is fucking expensive. I got an Egg McMuffin, a sausage and Egg McMuffin, and 2 hash browns. It cost me over $14.
That's why you go for the 2 sausage McMuffin meal. It costs about the same as all the other meals, but you get 2 sandwiches.
It's way too expensive, and it's not
I
worth
say,
it.
and I still haven't been in a very long time, but if you're able to get there by breakfast, that's the best way to spend your money. I mean, it's McDonald's, so you really shouldn't anyway.
Yeah,
but,
really
yeah.
shouldn't. But yeah, anyways, so while Joe is starving out in the street, Cornelia and his stuffy nanny are eating fancy rich people dinner.
Mhm.
Nanny leaves to go watch Masterpiece Theater and tells Cornelia to work on those Latin verbs.
And now I have This Moment of Homelessness is brought to you by Rich People and Coca-Cola.
Because she sees Joe peeping through the window. Not creepy at all, because he just apparently stalks her house.
Yeah.
She makes him a plate of food, goes into like the side part of the house, and he goes, psst, psst, little boy, little boy. You know how children speak?
Little boy.
You know how children speak in the 20th century?
Or she saw a stray puppy or kitten and is trying to get it to come inside. That's what this is. Here, boy. Here, boy. Come on. Come on.
I'm not gonna hurt you. Yeah, so she makes him a plate of food on a fancy plate,
Very fancy plate.
brings him out a Coca-Cola. My version of this was This Act of Charity is brought to you by Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
She leaves out a fancy plate of food for him, but doesn't bring him any silverware. So it means that when
No, I
she
noticed
goes
that
back
too.
inside, leaves the plate out, she goes back inside, like watches through the window. He just comes and starts fucking eating with his hands.
Okay, few things. Number one, there are 2 different cans of Coke. When she sets down the plate and sets down the can, it's the big, bold, blocky Coke label that's facing the camera, of course. When Joe runs to pick it up, it's the cursive Coca-Cola label.
But wouldn't that, I feel like cans have had both of those on each side of the can, like he might have just turned the can.
Who?
Joe, like he might have like turned it
No.
around.
No. She sets it down. It says Coke. It cuts away to her coming inside.
Right.
We then go back outside where he runs up to grab it and it says Coca Cola. It changed in that moment. He hadn't even gotten there yet.
I'm just saying that whoever, like, it could have just somebody who reset the can could have turned it around accidentally.
Eh, eh.
Anyways, this is pointless.
Anyway, second note, I know it's supposed to be that she's watching him eat, but I don't see how that's possible because he picks it up from the door and runs down the wall a little ways and then is pressed up against it. And again, eating with his hands because, I mean, it's a plate, yeah, but you're not going to give the waif the good silver. Come on.
You'll give him the good crockery, but not the good
And
silverware.
then she's looking out the window of the door. If you're on the inside of a door, I don't care how far you turn your head, you can't see down the wall.
Nope, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Back at the North Pole, we see the factory continue to turn out toys that are not getting screwed in properly and would absolutely fall apart instantly.
Yeah,
And by the way, quality control is, like we were mentioning, is a part of industrialized mass production. Now that you have elves not putting the toys together, they got time to inspect them. Like you can just reassign people, but you don't have a movie if you think a
right,
little too hard.
right.
So Santa's going off and flying through the night, doing his thing. He catcalls the Statue of Liberty.
Yes, he does.
Says "Merry Christmas, pretty lady."
He gets the Statue of Liberty flyby because, again, this is the same people that made Superman.
Yes, him superimposed on B-roll of New York City.
Yeah, and somehow he spies Joe at a trash can fire.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. Out of the hundreds of years you've been doing this, is this the first time you've noticed a homeless kid?
Apparently so.
Have you had your head that far up your fat ass, Santa? Like, holy shit!
So he lands on the roof of an, I guess, apartment building or something, and then teleports down to Joe's fire.
Right.
And Joe is completely unimpressed by this. I mean, he wasn't looking. He didn't see Santa appeared. All he knows is just this Santa-looking dude walked up behind him or something.
Right.
So, yeah, he more or less calls Santa a drunk bum because he's like, I'm Santa. Don't you know what that means? And he's like, yeah, you're out of a job till next year. Oh, man, this kid. He is so jaded.
But essentially, like, I'll prove it to you, and he magics
He
them up.
abducts him. He
Abducts him.
abducts Joe.
He abducts a child, magics him up to the roof. And by the way, we know that magical teleportation exists in this world, and this concept will be reinforced later in the film. The reindeer are pointless. That's just him showboating. As a matter of fact, it would be so much more efficient for him to just teleport from house to house in his endless night. Just chuck the toys under the tree and keep going. Anyways, I'm overthinking this stupid movie.
Yeah,
I'm
my
putting more.
my headcanon is that, like, he'll land and then maybe teleport and do a few homes, like, he doesn't make a stop on every single roof, that sort of thing. But this is where I noticed something, and again, production design, very fucking good. Santa has lanterns on his sleigh. They're running lights. The correct side is a green light and a red light and some white at the back. He has running lights like you would for a ship or a plane or something like that. Weirdly, though, they've always been that way from the very first flight. Before there's any way this was even a standardized concept, he had running lights. Anyway, so yeah, so he abducts Joe.
Abducts Joe. He gets in this because now he kind of believes that he's Santa. Gets in the sleigh with him. Kids don't accept magic sleigh rides from strangers. Just don't do that. And apparently, the magic activation word for the reindeer isn't the traditional on Dancer, on Prancer, on like it's yo. Tells Joe to say yo. Joe says yo, and the reindeer start flying.
I am living in eternal night. Do you think I have time to name all the reindeer to get them to take off every single time?
Why not just say sup while you're at it? Sup.
Sup?
And that activates the fucking reindeer.
But Santa totally, like, screws with Joe because he leans over. He's like, "Hey, do you know how to say yo?" And Joe's like, "Yo? Like, what the?" And he says it perfectly. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, weird old man? But since he said yo loudly, they take off.
Right. So now they're flying around superimposed images of New York City, and he's like, "Wow, you really are Santa, ain't ya?"
Yeah, this does not look
So
good.
first of all, this is where we finally learn that the kid's name is Joe.
Yes, we finally learn his name.
Finally learn that his name is Joe. He asks Santa if the reindeer can do anything, which is a weird question.
Pretty much, except the super duper looper. I've been trying it for years.
Will Santa explain what the super duper looper is? No, because you can go fuck yourself, movie viewer. You can go fuck yourself with a reindeer antler.
But we'll try it. We're gonna try it. And so basically, he does a stall. The reindeer start going up, and Donner freaks the fuck out, and they kind of drop and then go back and glide along their way. They do a stall maneuver.
Right. And after the stall maneuver, Donner grunts and bulges his eyes like he's having explosive diarrhea.
And Joe drops some awesome 80s slang about how it's okay, you know. Hey, chill out.
Hello, fellow children, said this writer.
Right? And then Santa lets Joe drive.
No, but John, we can't skip over this because this super duper looper event, he was flying at speed towards the Twin Towers.
As one does.
As one does, and I was this camera angle made it look like he was going not just towards the Twin Towers, he was going at the Twin
Yeah,
Tower.
but they start going up. They
But
pull a
for
stall.
enough of a time where my note here is like, "Is Santa gonna do a 9/11?"
Oh, man. God damn. I knew you were world weary and like dead inside, but damn.
I was worried Santa was gonna do a 9/11 in this '80s movie. Just say, it's not my fault they shot it this way, okay?
Well, it's not their fault 9/11 happened 16 years later.
Ugh. Anyways, Joe's now flying because that's makes sense.
And he does what happens anytime you give a kid control of a car or a snowmobile, speedboat, whatever. He fucking
He
guns it.
guns it under the Brooklyn Bridge.
And Santa gets like motion
And
sickness.
Donner, like, almost shits himself. And by the way, whenever Donner gets scared when they're flying, they make a point of doing an insert of his ears going over his eyes. So he's like covering his own eyes. So, like, this is one of the moments where he
Yep.
does that. And the way Santa's reacting is that Joe is flying. Yeah, he's flying at speed, he's flying much more recklessly, but the special effects don't let you know that.
No, they're terrible.
He's just flying normally, and but because he happens to go under a bridge, it's like, "You're going too fast," or "You're flying," nothing except Santa's reaction would indicate that Joe is flying. But
So,
now Santa takes the reins back because he's got a job to do. So they
yep.
park the sleigh off on the roof of an apartment building, and while breaking and entering in some stranger's apartment, Joe asks Santa what present he's giving this kid, and Santa's like, "A fishing rod."
She was like, why?
Well, not just why, but also like we have in no way seen anything in the North Pole production that would suggest that they even make fishing rods.
Yeah, but anyway, the reason is because he asked, and Joe's like, wait, you mean the anything you want? What?
Yeah, we realize the reason why Joe has never gotten a present from Santa is because he's just never wrote to him.
Well, because he never believed.
Exactly.
He kinda catches himself before he finishes that thought, though. He's like, I never really wanted anything."
Yeah,
You know, he's too
yeah.
cool for that shit.
So,
Yeah.
anyways, they nose touch magic up the chimney.
No, no, why the no, alright, listener, they are not rubbing noses, they are not Eskimo kissing, it's the put the finger to the side of your nose.
Their faces get a little close.
Well, yeah, but you said they nose touch up the chimney, and I just had to make sure we gave them the proper mental image there, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, good distinction. Yeah. So what do you know? The very next house they visit is Cornelia's. She busts them snooping around her living room and just doesn't find this disturbing. Apparently, just jolly old men in red suits happen to frequent her living room.
No, and if this house and the dinner and the fact that she's studying Latin hasn't tipped you off that they're, rich assholes, you should try the cookies. They're from
Yeah,
Bloomingdale's.
this moment of Santa getting diabetes is brought to you by Bloomingdale's.
Bloomingdale's for all your beatus.
All the beatus. Yeah, 'cause she asks him, "Are you really Santa?" And he's kind of like says smugly, "Boy, I hate it when this happens."
He's like, you got me. And then they're like, oh, it's you. Her and Joe recognize each other. And so Santa's like, oh, you know each other. And Joe's like, well, kind of. It's like, she fed me once. Like, they don't know each other. They've spied on each other.
They've spied on each other, and they're like in the middle of introducing himself, and Santa just has to introduce. They're like, "I'm Joe, I'm Cornelia, and I'm Santa Claus," and it's like, bro, let them have their moment.
We
Yeah,
know.
they know. Let them have their moment. Like it's not all about you, Santa dick.
But Santa gives them their moment because he's like, hey, Joe, how about you stay here? Santa does him a solid. He's like, you stay here. I'm going to finish my job tonight. I'll see you next year. All right.
No, but that's fucked up because he knows this kid is homeless, and he leaves him to fend for himself for another year. That's
I
that's
know.
so fucked.
Which, by the way, during which neither of these children age.
No, not at all. Oh, fun little detail. You see John Lithgow's picture on the mantle.
That's right.
You see a little portrait just in the distance, a little
I'll say,
foreshadowing.
but it's just back
Yep.
there. Yeah. But even I mean, his reveal is spoiled anyway. We'll get there. We'll get there. But when they're talking about all this stuff, I do have a big complaint. Joe says excellent, and he does not do air guitar. Do you? I mean, I get he's homeless, but come on, Bill and Ted etiquette is always in place.
Always in place. I
Yeah.
agree. So, cue a bunch of kids getting hurt.
This was always, even as a child, I did not have sympathy and empathy. I always found this funny.
Right, because all these kids are like riding the toys that were made
That
that
break.
break. They hurt themselves. Like the one kid's wagon gets run over by a school bus.
And I think it's so funny because it's just so over the top.
Right.
Like, if it just broke and a kid got hurt, I could feel bad. But the parent comes and picks the kid up and then just kicks the tricycle he was riding out into the street. Just kicks it off the curb.
Right.
And another kid's pulling a wagon, a thing comes attached and it rolls away. And he's like, oh no. And it goes out in the street. And like Nick just said, gets fucking smashed by a bus. Like, everything is so over the top mean about this.
Cartoony as fuck. And then we cut to Joe getting beat up by some other street urchins who apparently know that Joe knows Santa personally.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he makes crap toys. Like, no, he doesn't. And then we cut to Cornelia at dance class getting bullied for the same
This
reason.
was also one of my favorite moments as a kid because just the other girl's voice is so bratty.
Did a great job, this kid.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, but the line. It's the line and the delivery that I just love.
Well, because she makes fun of Cornelia for not having parents and she rightfully gets smacked
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah, she's like, "My parents got me a da 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 da. You don't even have parents." So yeah. And then she gets slapped and you hear, "Ow." This has got to be the inspiration for you and Orphan moment from Black Dynamite.
I still need to watch that, but
Oh, yes, you do. Oh my god. I'm about to become your best friend once you watch this movie. This will redeem for Santa Claus.
okay, good, good, because you do need some redemption after this fucking shit. So back at the North Pole, Dooley's like working in front of a fireplace and notices toys coming out down the chimney, and it's like, oh my gosh, returns! We've never had returns. And Patch realizes he fucked up. He gives Santa his red assistant apron.
Santa starts to tell him and he cuts him off. And this is the nicest version of the "you can't fire me, I quit."
Yeah, or it's like, I know you're gonna. I'm just not even gonna fight this. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna like.
again, it's the very nice version. He knows what's in, and he's just red's just not my color. I'm sorry. And he
Yeah.
hands over the apron. It goes to Puffy, and then Patch exiles himself.
Yeah, he thinks Santa doesn't like him anymore, and because of that, he needs to leave the North. Like he's like instead of talking to him, Santa, and kind of like because this guy that he's worked with hundreds of years, they have this mutual respect for each other. Instead of like going to him like a fucking adult, making sure that the air is cleared, he's just like, no, he doesn't like me anymore. Packs a hobo bag and fucks off.
Yeah, so my note here is Patch has a big old drop in the elf confidence, saying he just doesn't like me. To which I say, dude, you just quit.
Yeah, he didn't fire you. You quit.
But then he does get rejected because as he's walking through the North Pole, the little like Santa village, whatever land, fades from existence for him. So yeah, he can't find his way home now. And somehow he makes it to New York.
No, he can make it back. And by the way, he like hugs all the reindeer before he leaves and they start crying.
Or shitting themselves or O face, yes, we know.
No, the tears. I'm talking about the tears that come out of their eyes. The viscosity of these tears. It's like Purell is coming out of their eyes. It is disturbing, the crying that these reindeers do.
They're dehydrated after flying for endless night.
Oh god. Well, and I have here big blocky notes. This is where I almost gave up, John. I hope you're happy.
Well, this is what the review is. Now that you're ready for it to be done, the second act is kicking in. This is the
No, the first act can fucking begin. Like we haven't even gotten to a first act yet.
we
Jesus.
radically shift gears.
Well, anyways, we're gonna take a break.
Okay, yeah.
Will this movie have stakes, a plot, or anything that vaguely resembles a fucking movie? Spoiler alert, no, but yeah, we'll be back to break down the rest of this. I mean, I think it's legally a motion picture. Anyways, we'll be back. Wow, I can't believe the podcast became so successful we were able to buy a time machine.
Right? Not to mention everything's so much cheaper here in the 80s, but man, this McDonald's and Coca-Cola even tastes better.
Yeah, it's a real shame they got rid of the styrofoam containers. Just had a lot of character, you know?
And not to mention the McDLT. I mean, they separated out the hot and cold parts of the burger. It's build your own sandwich.
Hey, there's a poor kid looking at us through the window. You see that?
Yeah, the one who's like a slightly more clothed village people leather guy?
Yeah, that one. He looks really hungry and cold, don't you think?
Yeah, that's pretty sad. I mean, it's so close to Christmas, too.
Hey, you know what? With all the money we made podcasting, we should help him. We could buy him dinner and then afterwards get him set up at a good school and give him a bright future, make this the best Christmas ever for him.
Yeah, that would be a great thing to do. Spirit of giving and all that. I got something better. I'm going to smile and maintain hard eye contact while chowing down on this quarter pounder with cheese.
Oh, nice. Oh, dude, he's so upset right now. Oh my God. Hey, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna drop my 20-piece chicken McNuggets on the floor just because I can. Oops.
Classic Nick. Oh my god. I think I see tears. He's crying. He's crying.
Dude, he is totally crying. Ah, what a little bitch.
And that's the story of how money turned Nick and John into absolute assholes. Joe the orphan would eventually die in the streets due to their indifference, and also because Santa did nothing after learning about his homeless situation, because Santa is a dick. The end.
That's a shit story, Grandpa. Tell me a different one.
All right already. Princess Buttercup formerly lived on a farm, and Carrie Elwes was there for some reason.
And we're back, and we find ourselves in the middle of a congressional hearing where we finally meet the antagonist of the
Yeah, it's
film.
this weird tonal shift. We're suddenly introduced to like the second major character.
Yeah, the big bad of the movie, played by John Lithgow, who, as I mentioned earlier, is the only watchable part of this. John Lithgow acts hammy. He knows what movie he's in.
Oh, he is incredible in this movie.
He's really fucking good. He plays the, evil toy tycoon named Beezy because it sounds like sleazy. Ha ha ha. This movie wishes it were clever. So he's at this congressional hearing because they are investigating him over unsafe toys that BZ Toys is producing. And this is Batman villain levels
This is
of
amazing.
ridiculousness.
So they start off with this doll called Betty Beauty, and a dude lights a cigarette, doesn't not even the lighter, but just the embers of a cigarette, and barely touches the doll, and it goes up like you coated this thing in like hairspray or gasoline or
Yeah,
something.
lights the doll's vagina on fire. The part of the anatomy that he decides to light is the crotch. Uh,
I always thought he just touched it to the dress, but potato,
no.
potato.
Then they break open a panda teddy bear.
A panda potato.
Just to make it extra sad. A panda teddy bear to reveal that it's.
Okay, hold on. They don't just break open, they rip its head off.
Yeah, they rip its head
and
off.
then turn it upside down and start shaking it. And broken glass and rusty nails fall out.
Sawdust. It's sawdust and nails. This is the Inland Empire of good representation of where you live.
Specifically Fontana.
Mhm.
Or Fontucky, as other people in the Inland Empire refer to it.
Kentucky. That's amazing. So the senator that's kind of running this show tells him that he needs to recall every single one of his toys, or the consequences will be he will yank his business license. And my note here is even in the 80s, the 1% didn't go to fucking prison. Such low stakes for him, given what he's done. And so outside the Senate chambers, BZ's lawyer, or what's his? I don't know.
What, Towser?
Towser, yeah. What's his?
He's I guess you could say he's his assistant. He's basically his toady.
Right.
He's his little henchman.
Tells him that all their toys are being pulled off the shelves by retailers, are losing tons of money, and they're not.
Maybe he's an accountant. I could totally see that because he's just this whiny little needly, but he's always right there at his side. Just
Yes.
and he's the one who frets about everything.
He also mentions that they're not going to make payroll for their workers. They got 2,000 workers. They're not, because of all the negative cash flow, they're not going to make payroll. To which John Lithgow replies, "Commies." And back at the North Pole, Santa is sad to hear that Patch has run away, but the elf
And does fuck all about it.
does nothing.
We're not gonna try and find him. We're not gonna send anyone out to look for him. He's just
He's just
gone.
gone. But the elves are sure that the outside world is nice. They get such nice letters from the children. I'm sure it's not a.
That's right. Of course, it's a wonderful place.
Cut to Patch magicking in front of a toy store in New York City.
Who no one notices except the drunk.
Well, the drunk notices him poof away.
Okay, but anyway, I'm really glad they didn't do that thing where like he looks at the bottle and is like, "Huh?"
But what Patch notices here is that this toy store is pulling all the BZ toys out of the window.
But he thinks it's because they're super popular, they can't hold on to them.
Right. And this is where he poofs away and the drug homeless guy, like,
He reacts, but just not in that cliched, "Ugh, gotta stop drinking" sort of way. He's just like, "That was weird."
well, the movie still fails at humor here. It tries to play this up as a funny moment, and it's not. This movie really hates homeless people. Between Joe and this guy, doesn't like homeless people. So BZ arrives in his super fancy office.
I wonder if it's the same guy who played the Santa earlier because like Joe commenting about how he's out of a job till next year and he's still drinking in public. I mean, he's got the big fake beard and wig and everything on, so it would be really hard to tell, but I'm just curious if it would be the same guy. That would be inspired.
This movie is not inspired. As I was saying, BZ arrives at his super fancy office to find Patch sitting in his chair. Tries to call out for help, and Patch is like, "Well, can't really do anything about it because I'll just disappear." And he like poofs around the office. This really comes across as a threat. Like the elves are really good at subtly threatening people. And Patch tells him that he's a great toy maker, that BZ's a great toy giver. He's got no reason to believe this, and that they should work together because basically what Patch wants to do is prove himself to Santa and make Santa like him again. And we're literally an hour into this movie and we're finally having a fucking first act. We're finally setting up stakes. We're having inciting incidents. We're doing the movie thing after having had over an hour of fucking movie.
So Lithgow, he's a little bit incredulous at first, like Santa, he never brought me anything, that sort of thing. Don't believe in him. And then he just delights in the memory of him being a bad child. Because Dudley Moore's like, "You were probably a bad kid," and he's like, "Yes, no angel. I'm no angel."
And that amazing John Lithgow. John Lithgow's an amazing voice.
God, it's so good. And so after that, he is on board with this being reality way too easily.
Way too easily. He doesn't like, I mean, because he saw this guy poofing around the room.
True.
I guess that's just enough for him to want to go into business with this guy. He's going to take him at his word that Patch is a great toy maker.
Patch gives him a deal that there's no way he can pass this up. "I'm going to make you the most amazing shit that's ever been created, and it's just me. There's no other employees. There's no overhead."
Yeah, super low cost, and it's going to be amazing. Doesn't tell him what it is.
No, no, he doesn't. But he does tell him it's a special ingredient and shows him Disney sparkles. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But this movie truly did raise me because all Patch needs is a bowl of stew and a cold place to sleep.
But also, like, they do a whole thing about marketing because he's like, he doesn't
Oh,
like
yeah, yeah.
Patch doesn't know how marketing works. And BZ is like, "Oh, yeah, TV is the best thing for my line of work." It's like, "Oh, yeah, the thing, the box thing." And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah." Basically, Patch says he wants to be on all the channels around the world. And BZ's like, "Holy fuck, that's going to cost so much money." And this is where Patch gives this creepy ass line that he learned from
With
Santa,
Santa's
which
wife.
goes,
I believe it's Santa's wife, always said.
"Well, whoever said this needs to not be around consenting adults." Because the
No,
line is,
consenting adults are the only people they should be around.
right, but there's a non-consensual like implication here because the line is, "If you give extra kisses, you get bigger hugs."
If you're nice, people will treat you nicely. That's what it's saying. I know you're dead inside. I thought I was dead inside, but damn,
Physically
man.
transactional way of describing it, it was not kosher. I mean, it's Christmas.
Yeah,
There's
but
nothing
he's
kosher about
innocent
Christmas,
and,
but
he's naive to the ways of the world. He wouldn't understand that there's a weird way to
But
take it.
again, this is a 40-something-year-old man playing this character, and it comes across as unbelievable and creepy and weird. Put this this in an animated movie, and this line is way less creepy. Make a claymation figure say this line, it's way less creepy.
Middle-aged man with an insane amount of blush on his cheeks.
In a polka dot shirt,
Yellow with green polka dots, my god.
it's fucking insane.
It's amazing.
So he really sells Beezy on this something special that he's gonna make. You know, like he said, doesn't need workers, only needs some stew. He's got a secret ingredient, but they're gonna give it away.
For free!
John Lithgow's facial expression is amazing. I loved this.
Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. How do you make your face turn so red so fast?
Yeah, he like leans back in his chair, his face goes red, his
I coulda swore he swallowed the cigar he was smoking at that moment.
entirely possible and we didn't see it. He basically shits himself. But then he gets an idea that wait, if I give away something for free, this is going to rehabilitate my public image because we've had all these scandals with Congress.
And if it is as awesome as he says, first one's free, next one's gonna cost you, basically.
Right, because now we're in the factory with Towser, his crony, and that's where he says, like, yeah, like whatever it is. Still doesn't know what it is, by the way.
Nope.
But we're gonna give the first one for free, and then if they want a taste, they're gonna have to pay for it. It's like, yeah, it's using the drug dealer model.
And this empty warehouse is also brought to you by Coca-Cola with their vending machines. There were prominent Coca-Cola vending machines on, like, the production floor. Not in a break room, just out on the production floor.
That seems safe.
But yeah, Lithgow's walking through. Isn't it wonderful? The silence, no people, basically. No one he has to pay, no picketers, no unions, no paperwork.
None of that. They know that he's working on the delivery system. Don't know what he's making. They just know he's working on the delivery system. And so they bring him these prototypes because he kind of pops out the door in the place where he's working behind the scenes.
He's working in the dispatch office, and at another attempt for humor, he put like a little X over the word dis. So now it's just patch office.
Yes. Ha ha
Haha.
ha.
We didn't even plan to do that at the same
We
time.
did not. So they open up the prototypes and they're basically like glass versions of different shapes of what are obviously lollipops.
Yeah.
Obviously lollipops.
Yeah, there's these long triangle ones, there's rectangle, and they take
Classic
the standard
circle.
circle, and that's the one that gets chosen, yeah. And then, what color is it gonna be?
And he doesn't care as long as it tastes good. And so
Towser recommends puce,
puce. It's like, what's puce?
which for the longest time I did not know was an actual color, and it's exactly what he describes.
Yeah, it's like fuchsia with a shade less lavender and a bit more pink.
Is this supposed to be like an effeminate or gay thing? Because
Yes.
they're asking, and Towser's like, "I like puce," and Lithgow goes, "You would."
You would, and like he would after he explains, like Towser, sometimes I worry about you. Like
Yeah.
you might secretly be a homo. That is absolutely what they're going for here.
But then Towser's super excited because then they could bring out a whole new product, puce juice. But you see, orange is a color and a fruit that has a juice. Puce doesn't. It's just a color.
Right.
It's like those old Sunny D commercials where like, oh, we got water milk, purple stuff.
So again, Patch's plan is to prove that he's a good toy maker to Santa by mass producing candy. The plot of this fucking movie.
It's not necessarily a good toy maker, it's being a great assistant. So he's going to make the most awesome product and get kids to love it, and that's going to prove to Santa how good he can be at that as an assistant.
Yeah, a product that the Santa's Workshop doesn't manufacture or distribute. Dumb. It's a dumb plan, Patch,
Oh
and you're a
man.
dumb person for doing this. And fuck you for making me watch this movie, John and Patch.
All right, so back to the North Pole for the only time Santa actually does something in his downtime.
Yeah, he's carving a figure.
That is obviously Patch.
Okay, it's Patch, but it looks like Patch had a stroke. That's what it looks like. It's like a lumpy Patch.
He is centuries out of practice at whittling.
Yeah, it shows. He's lost his touch.
It's not terrible, but I mean, it's not a yeah. The face is a little weird, but everything else on it looks pretty nice.
Right. It's a wood carving of Patch sitting at a workbench, and this is apparently Joe's present.
It's a present he's specifically making for Joe, and he comments, "I think of Joe as if we had kids. You'd have a world weary, jaded orphan? Like what?"
Oh, that you would leave to fend him for himself on the streets for a year? Like, that's how
Yeah,
you would treat your child?
yeah, and
That's weird, Santa,
right,
that's
but
weird.
also just, 1, Joe's general attitude towards life, and and 2, it's like, you've met children before because they've caught you, that whole "I hate when that happens" moment.
Yeah. None of them would have reminded you of an ideal child. Who the fuck knows?
I was like, "He's never met a kid in all these centuries?" But anyway, so that scene's over, like, that's it.
Well, that scene's over. Here's the thing, like, we say it looks like Patch. Mrs. Claus mentions that it kinda looks like Patch, and it seems like he did not do that on purpose. Like,
No.
subconsciously, he's, like, yearning for Patch.
Right, but he's like, "Well, no, it isn't." Huh, you're right, it does.
And by the way, Santa, it's 1985. GI Joes are making a comeback. You think your workshop could invest in some fucking injection molding equipment, kind of get with the times, make toys that are of the period?
Dude, you saw what happened last time they tried to get with the times, and getting with the times was 1950s, 60s assembly line process.
Yeah, but those at least have quality control. Just get some quality control. It's all you need. There's a way to make this work.
Yep,
So now we're on a set for a commercial.
and this is the Patch Natch song.
Yes, and Patch is in a sequin outfit that Liberace would have considered a little much.
Oh my god. I mean, if you wanna talk about Christmas being made secular and it's all about consumerism and blah, blah, it's this scene. Again, this works as a statement from the joy and wonder of being a child of Christmas time to adult cynicism. It works very well as that, but just, there's no story or plot.
There's no story around it. Yeah, because Patch looks around the set and he's like, "Hey, this doesn't look anything like the North Pole." And Towser's like, "People don't want reality; they want to be sold the dream. Just roll with
Yeah,
this."
it's giant glitter snowflakes and everything. He's like, "There's no reindeer, there's no actual ice." Like, what?
Yeah, there's weird gingerbread houses, but then we cue the sexy lollipop dancers, and I think I found my new kink watching this scene. I liked this.
See, you're welcome.
No, you need to. There's so many. I need so much more than 5 seconds of lollipop dancers to make up for the rest of this goddamn movie, John. You have not done enough.
That's what AB repeat is for.
Yes, we get sexy leggy, like holding these giant fake lollipops, doing a dance while Patch reads this commercial. And look, I get that this movie's making a statement about objectification in commercials and like where society is right now, but this is a fucking kids commercial. There's no way this like I watched kids commercials from this era. I watched kids commercials just after this era. There were no sexy lady lollipop dancers. And by the way,
I don't understand why Patch is in the commercial.
no, there's no reason for him to be. Nobody knows who the fuck he is.
Right.
He's not a selling point.
Apparently, him reading off cue cards saying, "I'm an elf from the North Pole where the toys are made." People are supposed to believe that's true for some reason? I don't know.
I don't know.
Why not hire someone who can, deliver lines for your commercial?
Agreed.
But then again, Dudley Moore is such a wonderful actor, he can suck at acting.
On purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No,
Like
he's good at sucking. And by the way, this thing that he's talking about giving away is obviously a lollipop. BZ Toys is going to give you a free lollipop.
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, no one really is excited when they first get it, to be honest. They're like, "Oh, a lollipop," and they have some candy and they eat it, and that's it. But there's no reason for anyone to be excited about this.
None. It's a fucking lollipop.
If anything, you should be scared that the people who had rusty nails in their teddy bears are now giving away free candy.
Yeah, there's some bullshit in that fucking lollipop. Again, this movie's so stupid, so brazenly unself-aware,
Oh.
stupid. And we see Joe and Cordelia, they're watching this commercial as it's airing on different parts of the city. Joe's watching it in the window of a TV store. Cornelia's watching it at home. And Nanny tells her that her step-uncle has stopped by for a bit and that she should go wish him a Merry Christmas.
This is the dumbest reveal.
So stupid because it's, oh no, John Lithgow is the evil step-uncle.
Right, but she walks into his office, study, whatever, and she's like, "Merry Christmas, Uncle." And there's the big, like, chair turnaround reveal. But before that, he talks. So you already know it's him without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, he says, "It certainly is," and he's got the big, cheesy, goofy John Lithgow grin.
But then the way he spins around and like pushes in on him is like this dun 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 moment. It's not.
No, it's not. Also, he wasn't stroking a cat after this chair reveal, which is a missed opportunity.
Yeah, but he wears spats and fur
He
coats.
wears spats
So
and fur coats, he is smoking a cigar at all times, like, I get he's a douchebag, but I mean, like, give him a cat. I say give him a cat. And also, apparently, the North Pole has television too, because 'cause they're watching this shit
yes,
as
now they have
well.
TV.
And, their takeaway from this is, well, at least Patch is okay, but for right now, Santa's got a job to do.
Yep.
So back at the factory, BZ arrives to see Patch getting ready to fly in this twee flying machine powered by MacGuffin dust.
And the they're quote unquote fueling up the car. And this is obviously a string of tiny Christmas lights, the ones that blink to make it look like they're in motion in a plastic tube.
Obviously, like to anyone who is not brain dead, that is what this is.
I mean, of course, 5-year-old me didn't understand that, but like the instant I saw it, I was just like, oh my God, that is the cheapest damn thing.
Okay. But now we need to dive into the lack of logic in this film. Okay. So he's got
Oh
this
my
flying
God.
machine.
This makes no fucking
No fucking
sense.
sense. So you've got BZ, who's like, okay, cool. I don't have to have any like workers, but you still have access to like a comprehensive network of distributors around the globe that would be far more efficient to getting your lollipop to the masses than giving it to Patch in his wannabe Santa flying machine, who, as far as we know, doesn't have the time slowing down powers of Santa.
That was my question. How is he cursed with Endless Night?
We don't know if he is.
When did Patch receive the curse of Endless Night?
Or
That's
maybe
what we
he
need to
didn't,
know.
and so he gave, like, 5 kids the lollipop, and that was it. He got through Brooklyn, and that was about as fast as he could distribute that goddamn lollipop.
He has this flying car that was obviously like made by Play School. It looks plastic as fuck.
Right.
And it's all like super brightly colored, like everything else from the North Pole. And he just has a trunk full of these lollipops.
It's so stupid.
So again, I mean, at most he's got what, 100 tops?
Tops. And also, he can magically teleport from the North Pole to New York
I
City.
said, yes, he can teleport as well. He does have those
He
powers.
doesn't need a fucking flying machine. It makes no sense.
And he certainly doesn't need a stage and a curtain and a great big unveiling. Because again, BZ has no idea what he's been making.
But because it's not costing him anything, he doesn't care.
Yeah, I know, but you walk through this rundown, decrepit factory, and all of a sudden there's this super colorful stage and ramp and curtains, and why the not opulence?
The theatricality of it, it makes no sense. So, yeah, anyways,
So he puts on his flying goggles, and this car flies out the upper level of a
and so
warehouse.
now we
Yeah.
see Santa going off his rounds, and so while Santa's putting his presents down, he notices this lollipop under the tree.
This is metaphor of Santa falling behind the times because he's always behind Patch. Patch is always a step ahead of him.
Cool. Anyways, on the rooftop
It's
of a
deep.
building,
This is some deep shit in this movie.
I care so much about that metaphor. It's yeah. So, anyways, on the rooftop of a building, Joe waves Santa down, and as he's coming in for a landing, Santa's like, "Well, at least someone down there likes me," because now Santa's being a little bitch about Patch leaving.
Well, not just that, you had the returns, and we get more into Santa's depression. I mean, he gets seriously fucking depressed.
So Santa hugs the child he let fend for himself on the streets of 1980s New York for a year.
Now that the bitter cold of winter has set in again, Santa has come back to visit.
He's a good guy, and Joe doesn't in any way hold a grudge against him. In fact, he's very happy to see Santa. Joe asks Santa if he saw Patch on TV, and Santa gives Joe the carving present that he didn't even bother to paint, by the way, or fix the face to make it look like, I don't know, Patch didn't have a stroke. And Joe is way the fuck too excited for this toy.
He never had a present.
I don't believe that. Like Tots for Toys, like he's had cooler
Nope.
shit in his life. Like this,
Nope.
he's at least
He's on the run from the law. You think he's going to go to Tots for
He's
Toys?
at least
Man?
had a
Someone's going to
switchblade.
hand his ass in.
By the way, can we quickly comment on Joe's outfit in this movie? I don't think we've talked about how he looks like for the folks at home.
I can't wait to hear how you describe him.
If you've ever seen Alex Borstein in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, imagine that but a little boy. Okay, like he looks like he's trying out for the mini village people.
There you go.
He's in a leather jacket and like that leather biker cap, and it is
He's got his fingerless gloves. He does have a shirt
he
on.
does have a shirt on. Yeah, he's not that level of village people,
Well,
but
that's why it's junior village people.
right.
You can't sex it up.
Yeah, if Alex
No.
Borstein in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel was trying out for the village people, that is what this kid looks like. And so that wacky configuration of child in the mid 1980s is excited to receive a wood carving of a man he has never met as a present.
By the way, Joe, that look was so last year. You need to step up your game.
Yeah, bro. At least get a butterfly knife that you could flick around. Like, at least look the part. At least. And by the way, after getting
Oh,
this
shit.
incredibly shitty present from Santa Claus, his immediate concern is what the rich girl's gonna get for Christmas.
What did Corny get? He refers to as
Yeah,
Corny.
Cordelia, Cordy, that's a shit nickname. Stop calling her that.
Oh, it'll come into play in the
Okay.
most wonderful way.
And she's gonna get a fucking mini piano.
Yep. She asked for a mini piano. She wrote a very nice letter.
That requires a level of mechanical complexity that is far and above a goddamn wood sculpture. And she's rich. She could buy millions of these.
I like to think that the elves use their super long beard hair as like the wires in the piano.
Oh my god. Sure, why not? Apparently, they've been seeing a lot of each other over the past year, and also she's done nothing to keep him off the fucking streets.
Yeah, hasn't done a thing.
And so, speaking of Cordelia, we cut to her house where she's unwrapping the presents with her nanny. She's playing her little mini piano. She doesn't want anything to do with the free lollipop, and for some reason, the nanny.
Nanny's like, "Well, I won't let it go to waste," and Connie's like, "Fuck, eat it. I don't give a shit."
So the nanny eats it, and we finally learn as the audience what is so special about these goddamn lollipops because for like a good 15 minutes, we're like, why the fuck are we making such a big deal over what is a goddamn
You
lollipop?
can goddamn levitate.
Because he bikes the lollipops with elf dust, and so everyone can float, the same dust that makes the reindeers fly.
And while we are treated to a montage of headlines about how amazing this is, all the people are way too casual about this. The only person who has the appropriate reaction is the mom whose kid floats in and steals from the cookie jar. She freaks out.
Yeah,
Oh, and the cookie jar has no lid.
those are some dusty cookies.
Yeah.
Those are some really dusty cookies. But by the way, the nanny, when she's floating,
Oh, I feel like Mary Poppins.
don't reference better movies, movie. It's a bad look. That's a good movie. You're a piece of shit. Don't reference better. Like when piece of shit movies and TV shows reference way better movies and TV shows. No, bad look. Yeah, so we see a bunch of kids floating and they're all having fun, including this cookie thing. And yeah, we get the spinning newspaper cliche that these Poos Pops, they're called Poos Pops.
Puce. It's spelled Puce, yes. I'll give you a little bit of a pass, but it's puce.
Okay, fine. Puce Pops.
Puce juice. Come on, it's easy to remember.
Puce Juice, Puce Pops. Kind of sounds like Push Pops if you remember those.
Oh man, those were awesome.
So now we're at a press conference in Beezy's office. Reporter asks Patch some questions and he gets some cutesy answers. And because the movie thinks it's clever, I was way too lazy to write down any of these quotes because fuck this movie. But basically, Beezy uses this as an opportunity to say that Patch is going to be working exclusively for Beezy Toys. And the Patch's reaction is like, hang on, we didn't talk about that.
Well, they're trying to ask legitimate questions, especially given the company's history, like, what's it made from?
All natural ingredients.
Yeah, because Patch starts to give an answer, and Beezy keeps cutting him off, won't let him answer because, it all sounds incredibly insane.
And so when they bring up the subcommittee thing, Beezy and Towser and like they all leave like, oh, no more questions.
Just no comment, blah, 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 we're done here.
So Patch is like, hey, I think I did what I came here to do. I've got something to show Santa. I'm gonna go back to the North Pole.
But Beezy smoozes him into hanging around and making another batch that's even stronger. And we'll roll it out in just a few
Roll it out in a few
months.
months. And by the way, he's like, no, we can't do lollipops. We got to do something different. Candy canes. That's remarkably different. That's going to keep people's attention because they're worried about keeping people's attention. He's like, yeah, we're going to do it in a few months. Why in a few months? Yeah, March 25th. We'll call it Christmas 2 because we can't wait a whole year to do this again. You're making fucking flying candy. You can do that at any time. You don't need a Christmas thing. You can make any candy with this pixie dust shit.
But yeah, just that corporate bullshit. Now it's Christmas too. Like there's literally no tradition. There's no reason behind anything anymore. It's just all a big sales grab. And Dudley Moore just has this the hell? Christmas too? What?
Pick a
Like
confection that is evergreen, make it right now. You don't even have to wait until March. Make it right now. You just market it as like fucking Beezy's candy that makes you fly. Done. You don't need to do Christmas too.
yeah, but anyway, BZ poses it as like, this one last favor for all those, helpless children who just need joy in their lives. And that, that gets him to stick around. And now we see depressed Santa.
Yep.
Santa's ready to just
Yeah,
give up.
Santa's like asking, Mrs. Claus, is Christmas even worth it anymore? The world is a different place. People just don't appreciate the joy and the look on people's faces after they give them a gift. Bullshit. Go fuck yourself. This is bullshit. That's not how the world works. People like giving each other presents. They still like giving each other presents almost 40 years later. People still
Maybe
like
I
giving people
am
presents.
just a useless old fool. And I'm like, yeah, useless old fool who is immortal and sentenced to do this for
You did not
eternity.
consent to any of this. Like, maybe this Beezy is smarter than me. And it's like, because he made candy using your shit? You could do this. You could
Right.
do this right now.
Right.
You could make flying candy. Like, holy shit, this is some ham fisted Dark Night of the Soul bullshit. Like, goddamn.
Oh man.
So now we see Joe running through the rain to Cornelia's house. And why the fuck is it raining this hard in March in New York City? Like, why? I mean, I think this is what happens when you film in England. You think it's just rainy all over the world all the time.
It is not March. I'll make the case a little bit later, but it is not March. BZ wants to roll out in March.
Okay, so this could just be like a few weeks later. It would still be before March.
It is literally like a week
Great. So
after
we're in
Christmas.
January. Why the fuck is it raining this hard in New York City in January? That's even worse.
It's a heavy rain. Like that didn't even occur to me because Cornelia is asleep in bed during a torrential rainstorm, and she's on what second or third story probably of this house. Joe is down at street level whistling to get her attention, and that wakes her up.
It wakes her up.
How?
She turns on her side lamp, which evenly lights the entire room, apparently. Then we cut to a shot of Joe. What we see is Joe talking. What we hear is Joe
More
whistling.
whistles. Yes.
So Joe can echolocate? Is that what I'm supposed to take away? He's Flipper? Joe is Flipper. Joe is Flipper confirmed.
Oh my god.
And he sneezes. Like, this is a foreshadow sneeze, by the way. He sneezes while he's out here.
Oh my god.
And she invites him to come in. Not, hey, I'll be right down. I'll get you at the back door, one of our many back doors. She's like, no, come on up here. Climb up the fucking
Yes,
drain
yes,
pipe to my
he
room.
has to climb up the side of this house in the rain.
Up a fucking drain pipe to like the second or third floor. You gave him a sandwich. Go help him in that door.
Again, metaphor. She's rich, he has to do all the work. The homeless waif has to put in all the effort.
God. Anyways, so back at the factory, Patch is working on the evil candy cane machine. A factory whistle goes off, which prompts him to go into this like cold side room.
Yeah, it's time to add the Disney sparkles to the mix, basically.
We'll learn that this is cold storage. That's going to be important to the plot. But yeah, we just watch him transporting
You
sparkles.
just admitted to there being a plot.
So now back in Cornelia's room, she realizes that Joe has a fever, insists that he stay in a spare room in the basement.
Yep. Good thing you climbed all the way up the house so that I could throw your ass in the basement.
Yeah. So this is either the first time Cornelia has offered Joe shelter, or he's been a prideful bitch this past year because she's been trying to get him to just stay there, and he's like, no, he doesn't want to stay there. Like he feels fine. Like fine, I'll stay, but only until I feel better. So Joe is now homeless by choice.
Yeah.
He's just homeless by
Mhm.
choice. He's too proud to take Cornelia's charity. Back at the North Pole, we get more Santa depression. He rejects one of Puffy's new
Yeah, now
dolls.
Tom Segura comes in with this doll that looks like any other just it's a rag doll.
It is a ragdoll.
But he's like, "We got a new type of doll," and Santa's just depressed out of his mind. "Does it fly?" And they're like, "It wets," and Santa just, like he doesn't even turn to look, he just stares into his sadness, and they just awkwardly back out of the room. Scene
Ridiculous.
over, alright.
So at the BZ mansion, BZ is woken up by Towser, who has urgent news that can't wait for the morning, and he can't risk telling him that it's over the phone. It's like 3 a.m. Cornelia is taking Joe's temperature in the basement. It's still high, but it's like 99. It's not quite in the triple digits yet.
Slight fever.
Slight fever, but she says it still hasn't gone down. He's been there for like 30 minutes.
I know.
What were you expecting? Like, that's not how temperatures work. Anyways, looking at this basement, if the bug he's caught doesn't kill him, this basement will.
How is this the same house?
It's Dickensian, this fucking basement. Like,
No. I mean, that makes it suit Joe, but still.
doesn't suit, yeah, the rest of the
This
house.
place is just disgusting.
And so here's the thing. So she says to him, look, you got to get more liquids in. You got to get more vitamin C. Like, let's go get you some orange juice. So instead of just letting him rest there with his sickness, she insists that he goes all the way back up the stairs towards the kitchen door. Cause like this basement's like off the kitchen.
Mhm. And that's where they hear Beezy and Towser talking.
Right, but she's a dick. Let the guy rest. Go get him some fucking orange juice. You don't need to bring it with you. He's sick. Let him rest. He's probably gonna die of exposure in this basement.
She could probably find a way to sneak around and then walk in the kitchen. Oh, sorry, uncle, I wanted a glass of juice. You know? She could probably find a way to pull that off.
Right.
But anyway,
This is where I mentioned earlier that this movie is bipolar on crack because he went from being sleepy and unhappy that Towser's there to he is jazzed the fuck up. He is like Santa Claus will be finished. We didn't know that he was fucking competing with Santa. We didn't know that he even knew that Santa Claus was real. And BZ is going to be taking over Christmas. What the fuck, movie?
yeah, next year they'll be writing to me.
You have never met Santa. You don't know that he's real.
my
You just
God.
have this elf guy who can teleport and has this magic dust. He could be lying about the North Pole. This could just be some weirdo. You have not confirmed, you have not established that you are in any way competing with Santa Claus. The movie just needs to jam that in there so we can have a fucking like final showdown. And we are like an hour and 25 minutes into this movie. There are like 20 minutes left and we are now establishing this rivalry without these characters ever fucking meeting.
Yep.
And now we get the Brandy Stiflers because they're celebrating this fact with John. What are they drinking that's not brandy?
Drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon.
What in the actual fuck? I got irrationally angry at this
Out
scene.
of giant brandy sniff.
Giant brandies, like comically large brandy stiflers. They are drinking PB fucking R.
You keep saying stiflers.
What are they?
Snifters.
Oh, I called them
Stifler.
Calibri Green. Yeah. So anyways, drinking out of these comically large brandy snifters. Pabst Blue Ribbon, because fuck this movie for this has some ham-fisted product placement. This was the worst.
I just want to quote Mitch Hedberg here real quick. What the fuck did Pabst ever win a blue ribbon in other than giving me the shits?
Um,
Uh,
Amazing. Yeah, so Joe sneezes because again that outside that was a foreshadow sneeze. And immediately John Lithgow and Towser go into hunter killer mode.
yes.
Not like, hey, what was that? Let's go check that out. It's like, you go there. I'm gonna go here. We're gonna fucking like attack formation
It's like
Delta.
that
just
clearly
like,
came from the basement. There's two ways to the door to the basement from the kitchen.
No, there's not. We've seen the layout. There's not. There's the one door.
Why are we doing pincer maneuver?
Do you know why, John? Because fuck you, that's why. 'Cause fuck
Flanking
you.
tactics to catch an orphan in the basement. He's in the basement already. Where the fuck's he gonna go?
This basement where you cannot climb out a window, and there's literally only one
And
entrance.
anything you touch will give you tetanus.
Oh, looking at it funny will give you tetanus. Like, that is the kind of basement it is. John Lithgow goes down into the basement. Cornelia hides, but Joe doesn't because we need to keep this movie going. And so he grabs him, like you say, kidnaps a child,
Yep.
takes him upstairs, pawns him off to his chauffeur to take away.
Why? This doesn't
Why?
yeah, this doesn't make sense. I mean, Joe's talking a bunch of, he's talking pretty big about how he's gonna tell everyone and there's no way you ever gonna beat Santa Claus. Who is gonna listen to Joe?
Nobody. Because nobody even knows Santa's real. A couple kids may have seen him, but like, who the fuck
Right.
knows?
And it's not like he can go to the cops to explain the plan because they're after him anyway. They're not going to pay attention to him. Whatever it is he's done in his
Whatever
past,
the fuck
there's
he
no
did,
way he
yeah.
can go to the cops.
So, anyways, he gets taken away by the chauffeur, and now Beezy is upset because Towser woke him up, and there was this weird kid in the basement. Like, he goes back to his mood at the start of this
But he
sequence.
has the best line of the entire movie.
What's the line?
Have you ever had one of those nights where you just want to drop a bomb on the whole world?
I really resonated with that line. Yeah, I really resonated with it. But yeah, bipolar on crack because he goes from like low to ecstatic to
Yeah,
low.
damn, like vagrant kids in the basement. You're waking me up at night. Yeah, by the way, what did you want? John Lithgow channels the audience. What did you want? Why are you here, Towser?
Essentially, Patch needs to keep his pixie dust in cold storage because it's from the North Pole.
And if you don't, it fucking explodes. That's all you need to know. It's a long, drawn out story about how he moved stuff to another part and it was by effect, blah, 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 blah. And if it's by a source of heat, it'll explode. Second best line in the film from Lithgow.
What?
How's it their problem if these people are so reckless as to have radiators in their houses? These damn people trying to be warm in the winter. How dare they? How dare they?
Why didn't the lollipops explode? Go fuck yourself.
I would say because it has a much smaller percentage of Disney dust. Because when they were talking about upping the formula, I mean, Lithgow's saying like an order of magnitude, literally 10 times the amount that the originals had, if not more.
Sure, why not? Movie continues. Basically, Towser's like, they need to shut this shit down. It's gonna kill people. And Beezy's like, look, we're getting millions of dollars in cash in unmarked bills. How the fuck are you getting millions of dollars in cash and unmarked bills for a product that you have not demonstrated to exist or demonstrated the
Yeah,
efficacy of?
apparently they're getting pre-orders out the ass.
Pre-orders in cash.
But again, they're raking in shit tons of money. We're just going to let it keep going. And then once it's delivered, we're just going to fuck off to Brazil, no extradition, and we're going to live the high life while Patch takes the rap.
Except Brazil and the USA have had an extradition treaty since 1964, so that's bullshit. I looked this up. Signed in 61, went into force in 64, so no, motherfucker, they're gonna get you in Brazil. You'll have a great time for like the
Patch is inventing shit that's already been made for decades as well. So
yeah, but
who
just like
knows?
sprinkling magic dust in it. Yeah, like he's not an inventor.
No, I meant like the snow globe and the assembly
Yeah,
line.
Patch
and-
actually really sucks at his job. Cut to Patch reading the Elf rule book in bed.
And is he sleeping in the back of the car? I think this is the back of the car.
Yeah, but he's like converted it into a bed, so he like tries to pull down like
The trunk part, and it's sort of like a rolling door you might have on like a bread box sort of thing.
Yes, that's a great way
Yeah.
of describing it.
But he pulls it down like it's a blanket.
Right, but like his head's in the way, so he can't close it fully.
Yeah, it's seriously like pulling a blanket up to your chin, but he's rolling this thing down towards his neck. If this thing slips, that's it. Like he's suffocated or something.
And that's the scene. That meant fuck all. That's
Yeah,
the scene.
it's just him going to sleep. That's the pointless ass scene.
Then we watch Joe get tied to a pipe and gagged in Beezy's factory. The chauffeur just ties him up and leaves him there. And then we see that Cornelia, having like witnessed this or like heard it and like all this shit happen, waited until fucking daybreak to write a letter to Santa calling for help.
She's had an eventful night. She needs a rest. But yeah, she writes to Santa for help.
Yeah, apparently calling they try to address this just now, and I will elaborate on more, but apparently calling the police was not an option.
I'm guessing that over the year at some point, she knows Joe's history. And she knows calling the police is not an option, that it won't end well for him.
She gives a different explanation. I will address it when we get there. But yeah. But again, wait till fucking daybreak. I mean, I get it's been a stressful
Yep.
night, but you can't be like, really quickly get that letter off to Santa, hit the hay.
Nope.
Nope. Wait till fucking daybreak. So back at the North Pole, two of the reindeer apparently have the flu. This matters, I guess.
Yeah, this is the only real tension in the movie is Santa needs to go rescue Joe. And there's two problems with this. It's only been 2 weeks. They've only had 2 weeks rest instead of a year.
Right.
And two of them are sick, so Sleigh's a little underpowered.
Right.
That is the only tension that has ever existed in this movie.
And as we will see just now, doesn't fucking matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
In fact, we're better off without him.
Yep. We will get to that moment when we get to it, but you are absolutely fucking right. I know exactly what you're talking about. None of this fucking matters.
No, no, it doesn't. And these are the most amazing thermometers. They put this thing in the, the reindeer's mouth. It's a crazy straw that starts filling up the other way, and at the end, there's a bubble that lights up and says flu. And that's how you know they have the
Yep,
flu.
when it reaches the end of the crazy straw, you got the flu.
That's the most amazing, bad shit, insane thing I've probably ever seen in the movie.
Yeah,
And that's counting the Batman movie that has shark repellent spray. Again, you've got to see this Adam West stuff, man.
I
It's
do.
amazing.
I do. I know. So, anyways, yeah. So Santa gets the letter. They gotta go rescue Joe. Elves. Blah 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 blah. They get the sleigh ready with only the 6 reindeer that are not sick with the flu. And Santa wastes valuable rescue time giving a pep talk to the reindeer.
This is the lamest pep talk I have ever heard.
Yeah, I was demotivated by it.
This pep talk is bullshit. He's just like, I know we're a couple men down, but our good friend Joe needs us. So let's do this. Like, that's it.
Yeah, he says a lot more,
Not really.
but just go. You can give this speech on the way. You can give it on the way. Like, you don't have to fucking, wait. Just go. Also, you can teleport. Just go teleport to her house. You don't need the fucking reindeer for shit.
Yes, exactly.
So, at the factory, Patch goes to get more
man.
pixie dust, and he finds Joe tied up next to, a boiler, releases him, and then Joe immediately attacks him for betraying Santa?
Right. He thinks that Patch is in on the whole overthrow Santa plot. Yeah.
But Patch isn't he's like, no, I just wanted to prove myself to him so I could go back to the North Pole, blah, 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 blah. And during this scuffle, the wood carving that Santa gave Joe falls out of his pocket. And Patch sees it and he notices that it looks like him. And this indicates to Patch that Santa still likes him.
So then they become friends.
Literally instantly.
Yeah.
Literally instantly. It's just a mood change. Nothing happens. There's no reconciliation.
It's
Nothing.
an even faster snap than the did we just become best friends moment in Step Brothers.
And Patch tells him that they're going to go to the North Pole, and yeah, as we said,
We're going to bring a gift for Santa for a change, aka the candy canes that he's made so far.
Great. So Santa Claus picks up
Yep,
Cordelia.
cool.
She explains the whole.
By the way, he appears at the fireplace in her bedroom?
Yeah, dude, rich people have that.
Yeah, but for a 10-year-old? Maybe she's 11 now?
Uh,
You're going to give them the access to their own fire?
I had a fireplace in my bedroom in South Africa. It was a gas fireplace, but I had one.
And you survived? Okay.
I don't know how I did.
Fine. We'll leave it. We'll leave it.
I look. This is it. That is one of many questionable parenting decisions my parents made. But yes, they installed a gas fire.
Well, as long as we realize that it is a poor decision.
So anyways, she explains the exploding candy canes.
Mm-hmm.
And she says she didn't call the police because she didn't think they would believe her. Okay, first of all, the whole floating lollipop thing
Is something that happened. Yes.
global phenomenon. Everyone knew about it. It was in all the spinning papers. Then
It was in all the spinning papers. I mean, you're not wrong.
I'm not wrong. It was in all the
Just-
spinning papers.
Yeah. It
And,
was.
so yeah, it's being like, "Hey, my step uncle who owns the Beezy factory, who made the fucking lollipops, is making explosive candy canes because he made them too strong." That's not a stretch of the imagination,
Not at this
not
point,
at this point.
no.
And even if it was, you could still call them for kidnapping.
Yeah.
They kidnapped Joe. You could call the cops for that. Kids, if someone kidnaps your friend, call the cops. You don't need to like have a fucking candy cane excuse to call the cops to get your kidnapped friend back. Just call the cops.
And then they'll find out it's Joe and arrest his ass too for whatever the hell it was he did.
Yeah, indecent exposure at his village
But
people
at least he's
audition.
not out on the streets in the middle of a storm with a fever.
Yeah, he's just now in a dang part of a abandoned factory strapped to a
No, no, I meant better to be in jail
oh,
than
easily.
out on the streets or yeah, in the dank factory tied to a pipe. By the way, with a rag stuffed in his mouth as a gag, and we know he's sick, so that means he's probably congested. This kid's got to have trouble breathing.
Probably.
It's amazing he survived this long,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Good point. So Joe and Patch are now packing up the candy canes into his contraption because, instead of just grabbing the candy canes and poofing to the North Pole like we know that Patch can do, so Santa and Cordelia spot them as they're flying away.
Okay, so Joe is in love with this flying car, and Patch is just the coolest, most awesome guy. And there was a moment where he's like, "Hey, can we even go higher?" And Dudley Moore's like, "Yeah, of course, Joe." And my note here was, "You fucking better go higher because otherwise you're gonna drive straight into that goddamn mountain that's right in front of you."
And here's the thing, while this flying is going on and missing mountains is going on, if Cornelia didn't call the police and no one knows that Joe got kidnapped, why the fuck are the cops surrounding goddamn Beezy's factory now?
Yeah, okay, yes, thank you. It's such a old-timey cops and robbers thing. Like 3 cars pull up and we know you're up there. Give yourself up. There's no way for you to escape.
Yes, that sort of thing. Again, there's no reason for them to be there. They have no reason to suspect wrongdoing. Cornelia didn't call the fucking cops. Who called the cops? Did Towser turn him in? Who the fuck knows? But the cops are there and they're at his factory. So in his office, BZ starts eating some of the candy canes so he can fly away.
Yep, because they've run up and they're starting to break the door down to get to him.
But instead of being able to fly, he floats straight up into the sky.
Yeah, but he crammed like 6 candy canes into his mouth at
Oh, he
once.
might have OD'd.
And like a last one for good measure before he jumps out the
Fair enough. He
window.
might have OD'd
So,
on candy canes, spiked with elf dust. Cool.
yep, Elf beat us.
Yep. So they're flying. They're trying to catch up to Joe and Patch, but because the reindeer haven't rested and they're down so too, like they're not able to catch up. And they're flying over the Arctic now. And you would think that because they're flying over the Arctic, the candy canes would be getting cooler. No.
And they're in the back of the car with the hatch open, or sorry, the bread box thing rolled up.
Yeah, so but you think the Arctic winter would be blasting it and cooling it at the very least.
But no, they are heating up, and Patch doesn't know that this stuff is explosive when it gets hot. And so there's only one way for them to save
Oh,
Patch and
John,
Joe.
John, John, John,
Ah,
John, John.
I know I'm gonna have to do it. You're not gonna be able to bring
All I'm
yourself
gonna
to say
say
it.
is
I know
this.
this.
This
Fuck
moment,
this
oh,
movie.
fuck this movie.
Fuck this movie.
And for this moment alone, if you had just shown me this part of the movie, we would still not be friends. I would have dropped your ass as a friend for this fucking shit alone. This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Okay, so listeners, please try to imagine this scenario. There's a flying car that's about to explode. You are also in a flying vehicle, a sleigh in this occasion, and you need to get those people out of the car. What do you do? Do you pull up alongside them and help them over? Do you get underneath so that they can jump out? Or do you pull the super duper looper
Fuck this movie. Fuck this movie so hard.
in which you fly under the car and then do a loop de loop over them so that when it explodes, you are back underneath again for them to land in your sleigh. Because according to Santa, that is the only way to save these
Fuck this
people.
movie. Oh my god, fuck this movie.
It's
It's the
oh my
dumbest
god, it's so dumb.
thing
It's
I have
so
ever
dumb.
Santa will
I laugh my ass off every time it happens, and it looks
It looks
terrible.
so bad.
And it looks terrible.
So bad. Yeah, they could have just caught him. Apparently, yeah, they didn't need to be trailing them the whole time because they immediately catch up when they decide to do the super duper looper.
They easily catch up to them because it's Patch up there, and if you love him like he loves you, then you'll I forget the entire line, but that's part of it.
So
Yeah,
stupid.
loving Patch. Yeah.
Breathtakingly stupid. This fucking whole thing.
And then this is the greatest payoff is they catch him, they land in the sleigh, everyone's there, and Dudley Moore, oh my boys, you're so good, da 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 da. Da." And Joe makes the introduction. Patch, this is corny. I told you it would pay off later. And yes, Joe, yes, it is. It is some of the corniest shit you will ever see in your life.
John, I literally finished watching this last bits of the movie about 40 minutes before we started recording, and my brain refused to encode. Like, this is how much my brain rejected this movie. I just watched this scene just now, and I do not fucking remember this because my brain said, no, Nick, we're not remembering this fucking movie. I will remember in great detail the Indian of the Cupboard and Homeward Bound, but this shit is where my fucking brain drew the line.
Oh my god. Because it's
It's
corny.
so corny. Oh.
Oh
So
man.
back at the North Pole, Santa adopts Joe now?
Yeah. This also makes no goddamn sense. They get back, and instead of taking these children back home, or at least Cornelia, she gets to stay too.
But only for a year. She gets to stay until next Christmas.
He's going to take them back on next Christmas, but they're going to stay there a year. And Dooley's like, great, now I got to figure out how to be a school teacher.
And they're like, school? Because, haha, kids hate
Because
school.
we expected this movie to end on a freeze frame at that moment.
No, but here's the thing. He only says for certain that he's going to take Cornelia back next year. The implication seems to be that that's just now where Joe lives.
Well, I mean, who's going to miss him?
It's true. Cornelia might.
I'm sure he'll tag along each year.
Sure.
So then does he become under the umbrella of immortality protection, or is Santa going to have to watch him grow old and die now?
Both are horrifying because he would be immortal as a child. He would never progress
I wonder if he would mature mentally, though. But, like, he still has a child's body.
like Kirsten Dunst in Interview with the Vampire.
Right. Exactly.
Huh.
And then when Season's Greetings happens, he turns to ash.
Much,
We have to keep Joe away from Season's Greetings.
much better movie.
It's Santa's vampire death chamber. This just became amazing.
We're writing such a better movie than this fucking piece of shit.
So anyway, the happy music from the first toy making montage kicks up again, and everyone's dancing and happy. And then because it's the people who made Superman, we have to cut to space.
Yep.
And a man flies past the camera. This time, though, it's John Lithgow, and he's freaking the fuck out. And he breaks the alien rule.
What's the alien rule?
Well, we hear him screaming.
Ha! In space, we the audience definitely hear him scream. And also, they play this for last.
How is he not dead?
Yeah, we are watching John Lithgow literal moments before he dies.
He should be dead
Well,
already.
I mean, he should be dead already. He's not.
There's no way he has enough air, or at least passed out. There's no way he has enough
No.
oxygen. He would have suffered severe hypothermia on his way out of the atmosphere.
True.
And now he's out there getting the full brunt of the sun's radiation.
That too.
Yeah.
And now this piece of shit's over. I'm fucking so done with this. Oh my god. Fuck this movie. Fuck this movie. Fuck this movie. That was Santa Claus, the movie. And of course, before we go, as millennials, we know that every movie and TV show has a moral. So, John, what'd you learn today?
I learned that if someone is in an emergency situation and deadly peril, the best way to help them out is to literally run circles around them first.
Especially if those circles involve the super dupe looper.
Hells yeah!
And I learned that I hate you, John. I hate you, and I will never forgive you for making me watch this movie. I hate you so goddamn much.
You're welcome.
And before we go, we of course need to tell you folks what we're doing next time. John, what do they have to look forward to?
We will be entering The Matrix.
Finally, a good movie. Oh, please don't suck in hindsight. Oh, please, dear Jesus, don't suck in hindsight, The Matrix.
Oh, man, I wish I could read this entire review.
Okay, just the juicy bits.
Oh, man. All right. I'm gonna have to paraphrase a little bit. Wachowskis, the hotshot writing and directing team, clearly set out to astonish with this one, and they certainly do. It's astonishing that so much money, talent, technical expertise, and visual imagination can be put in the service of something so stupid. Folly on such a monumental scale is almost exhilarating. So, this is what more than 100 years of cinema history has come to: special effects with no movie. And that is just the beginning of this review. From 1999 when it first came
Get the
out. This
fuck
isn't one of
out.
those. No, this isn't one of those like looking back and it doesn't really hold up sort of things. This was an initial reaction.
Wow.
The headline is Lost in the Matrix. Pretentious sci fi thriller, also a special effects spectacle.
And that's our show. If you liked it, please subscribe. If you loved it, please share it with all your friends. And whether you liked it or loved it, we'd appreciate it if you gave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts to help others find us. Also, be sure to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Links to both of those are in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time for another episode of Millennial Rewind.